Hello guys, welcome back. Or if it's your first time here, welcome to History at Sleep, the place where history slows down and the past becomes a quiet story to fall asleep to. Tonight, we're going somewhere far back in time, a world of wood, wind and whispers, a night in a medieval village. The sun has just set beyond the distant hills. The last bit of orange fades slowly, leaving behind a sky of deep blue and silver. Smoke rises from a few chimneys, curling gently into the cold evening air. The sound of footsteps on frozen dirt fades into the distance. Doors close, one by one, and the little village begins to grow quiet. The houses are made of timber and thatch. Small windows glow faintly, each one a tiny world of firelight. Inside, families sit close together, sharing a simple meal before sleep. Bread, a pot of stew, perhaps a bit of salted meat, whatever the day's labor has allowed. There is no sound of traffic, no hum of machines, only the crackle of fire, the low murmur of voices, and somewhere outside, the soft bleating of a goat in the dark. In one cottage, a mother hums a tune as she mends a wool blanket. Her hands move slowly, carefully, used to work, used to cold. Her children sit near the hearth, watching the shadows dance on the walls. For them, this is warmth, this is safety, this is home. Outside, the night deepens. The wind carries the scent of wood smoke and damp earth. An owl calls from the forest edge. Somewhere, water drips from a roof, steady as a heartbeat. The village sleeps early. Tomorrow will begin before sunrise. The men will wake to feed the animals, the women will prepare bread, and the children will gather water from the stream. But for now, everything slows. Even time feels softer here, as if the world itself is tired. A candle flickers out, then another. The sky grows darker still. You can almost hear the silence, the kind that only exists when the world is small and the night is endless. In the distance, a church bell rings once, a slow reminder of the passing hour. The sound drifts over the rooftops, echoing gently between the fields. Inside one house, a man sits by the fire, carving a piece of wood. He's making a small toy for his son, a horse perhaps, or a bird. Something simple, something that will last. His wife watches, smiling quietly, her eyes heavy with sleep. The flames move across her face, gold and warm. Soon she will cover the embers with ash to keep them alive until morning. They always do, because fire is precious. Without it, there is no light, no warmth, no life. Outside, the stars begin to appear, one by one, like ancient memories returning. The Milky Way stretches over the sky, a soft river of light that has guided travelers for centuries. Somewhere beyond the forest, wolves are howling, not close enough to fear, but close enough to feel. The villagers pull their blankets tighter, and the sound fades into dreams. The world for now is safe. The world for now is still, and the night continues, slowly, quietly, over the sleeping village. The night deepens. The last embers in the hearth glow softly, painting the room in faint shades of orange and red. Outside, frost begins to gather along the rooftops, a thin silver blanket spreading through the dark. The air is cold now, so cold that every breath leaves a soft white cloud. But inside these walls, there's warmth still lingering, the kind that comes not from fire, but from life itself. A dog stirs near the door. It lifts its head, ears twitching at a distant sound, a branch cracking somewhere in the woods. For a moment, the night seems to hold its breath. Then all is quiet again. The man by the fire finally rises. He sets down his carving, carefully, as if the small wooden toy might wake. He looks at it for a moment, a reminder that even small things can outlast the noise of time. He climbs into bed beside his wife, pulling the wool blanket close. Outside, the wind sighs against the door, and the village settles deeper into silence. Far across the field, the church bell stands tall against the stars. It won't ring again until dawn, but the cold metal hums softly in the wind, a sound only the night can hear. Above, the sky glows with quiet beauty. The constellations shine like stories. Orion the hunter, Cassiopeia the queen, Ursa Major, guarding the northern star. Each one has been there for thousands of years, watching villages rise and fall, watching people live and fade. In one small cottage, an old woman lies awake. Her eyes follow the flicker of shadows on the ceiling. She remembers summers long gone, fields of grain, laughter by the stream, voices of those who are no longer here. She murmurs a prayer, not for herself, but for the children sleeping nearby, for warmth, for harvest, for another morning. The candle beside her fades. Only its scent remains, a trace of beeswax and smoke. Then darkness folds in, soft and heavy, like a blanket woven by the night itself. Outside, snow begins to fall. Tiny flakes drift down in silence, landing on rooftops, on fences, on the old wooden cart by the barn. Each one unique, each one gone before morning. The fields turn pale under the moonlight. The paths disappear. Even the river looks still, frozen under a thin layer of glass. In the distance, a shepherd checks on his flock. He carries a small lantern, its glow trembling in the wind. He counts the sheep one by one, whispering softly to calm them. They answer with faint bleats, and he smiles, content to know all is well. He pauses, looking out toward the sleeping village. Only a few windows glow now, and even those will fade soon. The night belongs to silence once more. He pulls his cloak tighter and turns for home. His boots leave soft prints in the snow, a winding trail that glitters under the moon. Somewhere nearby, a small brook keeps moving, whispering quietly beneath its frozen edge. The sound is barely there, just enough to remind the world that water still flows and time still moves. In one barn, a horse shifts in its stall. The soft thud of hooves, the breath rising in white clouds. These are the sounds that fill the empty hours. The village dreams. Dreams of harvest, of warmth, of brighter days. Each mind drifts through its own quiet story. Outside, the snow falls heavier now. The rooftops vanish under white. The fences, the paths, the cart, all disappear. The world looks peaceful, like a painting in stillness. Somewhere high above, a shooting star crosses the sky. A brief line of light, seen by no one, but there all the same. The old woman stirs in her sleep, whispering a name from long ago. The shepherd dreams of summer grass. The children dream of the morning sun. And the night, unchanging and eternal, keeps its quiet watch over the sleeping village. Hours pass like whispers. The fire dies to ash. The snow slows, and the first pale hint of dawn touches the farthest edge of the sky. The roosters will crow soon. The world will wake again. But for now, the village sleeps, still, safe, and silent beneath the falling snow. A faint grey light touches the edge of the sky. It is not yet morning, but the night is beginning to fade. The stars soften, their brightness dissolving slowly into mist. Frost glimmers on every rooftop, on the bare branches, on the small cart left by the stable. The village looks frozen in time, a world held still between darkness and dawn. Then, somewhere far off, a rooster crows. Once, Then again, the sound cuts through the silence like a thread of life. Inside the cottages, fires are being coaxed back to life. Ashes stirred, sparks glowing, until a thin orange flame rises again. The smell of smoke seeps through the air, warm and familiar. A woman ties her shawl around her shoulders, steps outside, and breathes in the morning cold. Her breath clouds before her, and she watches it drift away like a small ghost disappearing into the pale sky. The world feels slow, still wrapped in sleep, but soon it will begin again. The same rhythm, the same quiet work that has shaped life for centuries. In the barn, a cow shifts and lowly moos. The man of the house enters, lantern swinging, hands rough from years of labor. He speaks softly to the animals as he pours feed into the trough. His voice blends with the sound of hooves and straw. A child appears at the doorway, rubbing sleepy eyes. He stands barefoot for a moment, watching his father work, the air cold against his face. The man smiles, hands him the lantern. "Hold this," he says quietly, and together they move through the dim barn, the golden light flickering against wood and wool and dust. Outside, the eastern sky grows brighter. A pale blue seeps into the horizon, pushing the last of the night away. The frost begins to melt, slowly, reluctantly. The sound of life returns piece by piece. A door creaks open, a cartwheel groans, the faint clatter of buckets at the well. Somewhere someone laughs, a short, bright sound that feels like sunlight. Smoke rises again from every chimney. The village breathes. In one small house, bread is already baking. The smell drifts through the air, warm, sweet, like a promise of comfort. A woman hums softly as she works, kneading dough, her hands steady and strong. On the windowsill, a small bird lands, shakes off the frost, and begins to sing. Its voice is clear, fragile but sure, the sound of morning finally arriving. The children wake, stretching beneath wool blankets. One yawns, another groans, and soon their soft footsteps fill the small room. The mother smiles, handing them each a small piece of bread still warm from the oven. The father returns from the barn, his breath fogging the doorway. He sits by the fire, removing his gloves, and for a moment just watches. His family, his home, his small piece of the world. Outside, the village is fully awake now. Men lead oxen toward the fields, the ground crunching beneath their boots. The women carry buckets to the stream, their skirts brushing frost from the grass. Everywhere there is motion, slow, steady, and deeply human. The church bell rings once, a low, hollow sound that drifts over rooftops and trees. It marks the beginning of another day, the same as yesterday, and yet new all the same. The sun finally breaks the horizon, a pale gold disk rising over the hills. Its light spills across the frozen fields, turning the world soft and alive again. Steam rises from the chimneys, from the breath of animals, from the river itself. The old woman opens her shutters. She leans out, feeling the sun on her face. Her eyes close for a moment, and she whispers a quiet thank you. To the day, to the warmth, to the simple miracle of another dawn. The village hums with quiet purpose. No rush, no noise, only the slow rhythm of work and life that will continue long after this day fades. And as the morning light spreads, the night becomes a memory, soft, gentle, like a story the world once told itself before waking. The morning settles into its rhythm. The first light, once golden, now softens into white. A thin layer of mist hovers above the fields, rising from the damp earth as the sun warms it. The air smells of hay, wood smoke, and freshly baked bread. A dog trots through the village path, its tail sweeping the dust, pausing now and then to sniff the ground. Somewhere, a blacksmith begins his work. The ringing of metal on metal echoes through the still air, slow, steady, deliberate. Each strike measured, each pause filled with the crackle of the forge. The sound is comforting, a heartbeat of the village. By the well, two women draw water. Their voices rise and fall in soft laughter. They talk of weather, of bread, of children, the same talk as yesterday, and the same that will fill tomorrow. The wooden buckets creak as they fill. Drops spill over the rim, falling onto the frost-hardened ground, where they steam in the sunlight. A man passes with a cart of hay. He nods to them, smiling faintly. No words are needed, only the small gestures of those who have known each other their entire lives. The fields beyond the village are wide and still. Rows of stubble from the last harvest catch the light like threads of gold. In the distance, a few oxen pull a plough through the soil, their slow steps marking the pace of the day. A boy follows behind, barefoot, his breath clouding the air. He hums a tune he doesn't remember learning. It's been passed down for generations, sung by those who once walked the same fields, under the same sky. Near the river, a mill wheel turns lazily. Its wooden paddles creak as water flows beneath. The sound blends with bird song, with the rustle of trees and the faint laughter of children playing nearby. They chase one another through the grass, their feet splashing in puddles, their shouts carried by the wind. A dog joins them, barking happily. For a moment, the whole world feels alive. At the edge of the forest, a woodcutter works alone. Each swing of his axe cuts through the quiet like a slow drumbeat. When he pauses, you can hear the forest breathe, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of crows. He wipes his brow, rests his hands on the axe handle, and looks toward the village. From here, it seems so small, a handful of roofs, a wisp of smoke, a fragile island of warmth in a vast, cold land. He smiles to himself, then returns to work. The rhythm of his axe matches the rhythm of his heart. Back in the village, the baker removes loaves from the oven. Steam rises in soft curls, and the smell drifts through every street. Children appear, drawn by the scent, eyes bright, hands outstretched for crumbs. The baker laughs, tearing small pieces for them. They thank him with shy smiles and disappear again into the sunlight. A church bell rings noon. The sound is warm, echoing across the fields. It tells the villagers what they already know. The day is half gone, and the work goes on. People gather outside their homes to share a simple meal. Bread, cheese, perhaps a bit of dried fruit. They sit on wooden benches, faces turned toward the light, eyes half closed in quiet rest. For a moment, the village feels timeless. No past, no future. Only the steady pulse of life continuing, unchanged, unhurried. A breeze moves through the streets, carrying with it the faint sound of bees, the scent of pine and smoke, and the calm weight of the afternoon. Somewhere, a lute begins to play, a soft tune, slow, meandering, as if the notes themselves are wandering through the air. The melody drifts over the rooftops, through the open fields, and vanishes into the sky. The sun stands high now. Its warmth rests gently on the earth. The shadows grow shorter, and the colors of the world deepen. The brown of the soil, the red of the roofs, the pale gold of the grass. Time moves quietly here. No clocks, no rush. Only the rhythm of breath, of footsteps, of life unfolding as it always has. And somewhere, unseen, The river keeps flowing, always moving, always whispering, carrying with it the soft voice of the day. The afternoon drifts toward evening. The sunlight begins to fade, turning the world a deeper shade of gold. The shadows stretch long across the fields, reaching toward the edge of the forest. The air feels different now, cooler, slower, as if the whole village is taking a deep breath before night returns. The oxen are led back from the fields, their heavy steps stirring the dust. A boy walks beside them, his tunic smudged with earth, his hands resting on their backs for warmth. The wooden plough creaks softly as it rolls behind. At the well, the women draw the last buckets of the day. Their arms ache, their dresses damp with splashes of water. They speak quietly now, their laughter replaced by tired sighs. The baker has closed his oven. Only faint heat remains inside, a slow pulse beneath the cooling stones. He sits outside his shop, watching the sun sink lower, a loaf of bread cooling beside him. The children's voices fade one by one, replaced by the soft sounds of chores. Doors open, then close again. The village exhales. The blacksmith quenches his final piece of iron. Steam hisses into the air, and for a moment, the scent of hot metal fills the square. He wipes his hands, hangs his apron, and walks toward home, his shadow long behind him. The river glows with the reflection of the sky, orange melting into pink, pink fading into silver. Geese fly overhead, their wings beating slow and steady, their cries echoing far beyond the trees. By the forest edge, the woodcutter gathers his tools. He looks once more toward the village, where the smoke of supper fires is already rising through the cool air. He smiles faintly, picks up his bundle of wood, and follows the fading path home. The bell in the church tower rings again, a low, soft note. Not for prayer this time, but for peace. It tells everyone that daylight is ending, that the world is about to turn quiet again. In the fields, the last workers make their way back. They speak little, their boots heavy with dirt, their bodies aching but content. The sound of their steps mixes with the hum of crickets, the first music of the evening. In one cottage, a woman stirs a pot over the fire. The scent of herbs and stew fills the room. Her husband sets the table, a wooden board, 2 bowls, a loaf of bread, and a jug of ale. Simple things, but in this hour they are enough. Children sit near the fire again, their faces lit by the same warm light that ended the night before. They tell small stories of things they saw, or dreamed, or imagined. The mother listens as she works, her smile soft but tired. Outside, the sky deepens. The last rays of the sun touch the top of the church spire before slipping away. The color of the world changes, gold to gray, then to blue. Smoke curls lazily above the rooftops. Lanterns are lit one by one. The glow spreads through the streets like embers catching in dry grass. The village gathers into itself. The noise fades. Even the animals seem to understand that the day is done. A shepherd counts his sheep as they settle for the night. A dog circles twice before lying down. The chickens roost in the rafters, their feathers rustling softly in the dusk. The air grows colder, the scent of wood and earth deepens. You can almost feel the weight of time here. The same night, the same routine, repeated for centuries. An old man sits by his doorway, a pipe in his hand, watching the last light disappear. He doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. The world before him says everything. The roofs, the smoke, the faint hum of life that will soon give way to silence. As darkness falls, the first stars appear again, shimmering above the fields. The same stars that watched over the night before, the same that will shine on every night to come. The bell rings one final time, 3 slow notes. The sound lingers in the cool air, echoing through the valley, carrying the day away with it. Inside the cottages, families gather closer to the fire. They eat, they whisper, they pray. And when the flames grow low, they drift again towards sleep. The night has returned, soft and slow, folding over the village like an old familiar blanket. The night deepens. The last ember in the hearth flickers, then settles into a soft red glow. Most of the village is asleep now, a stillness that feels almost sacred. Outside, the wind moves through the trees, gentle but constant, carrying the faint scent of smoke and pine. It slips between cottages, rattles a loose shutter, then disappears again. The moon rises higher, casting a pale silver light over the thatched roofs. The cobblestone paths gleam faintly, as if brushed with frost. Every sound is sharper now. A distant owl, the creak of wood cooling in the cold, the quiet breathing of the world. At the edge of the village, a watchman walks his round. He carries a small lantern, its flame trembling in the wind. He knows each step by heart, past the church gate, past the well, past the barns. He listens, but hears only calm. He pauses for a moment, looks up at the stars, and whispers a short prayer for the night to stay quiet. Farther out, the fields rest beneath a thin mist. The stubble of harvested grain glitters faintly with dew. A fox moves silently between rows, its eyes catching the moonlight for a heartbeat before vanishing into the dark. In one cottage, a mother stirs in her sleep. The baby beside her whimpers once, then settles again. She tucks the blanket closer, her hand finding the child's tiny fingers, and soon her breathing slows to match the rhythm of the quiet night. In another home, an old man dreams. He sees the same path he's walked all his life, from his door to the field, from the field to the church, and back again. In his dream, the sky is always clear, the sun always warm, and his steps always light. A few houses down, a young boy lies awake. He listens to the wind, imagining shapes in the shadows, knights, dragons, the stories his grandmother told. He wants to stay awake, to see if any of it is real, but his eyelids grow heavy, and soon even his dreams begin to fade into the quiet. The night stretches on. Time seems slower here, as if the world itself has stopped to rest. In the square, the church bell stands still, its metal cool to the touch. A thin line of moonlight rests across it. Bats drift soundlessly through the rafters, their wings soft as whispers. The baker's shop is dark now. Only the faintest scent of bread remains, woven into the air like memory. Tomorrow he will rise before dawn again, but for now, the oven sleeps. The animals dream too. The horses shift in their stalls, tails twitching at imagined flies. The cows breathe in slow, steady waves. A mouse scurries through the hay, pausing at every sound, then darting off into shadow. Near the edge of the village, where the land dips toward the river, the water glimmers beneath the moon. It moves gently, like silk drawn through silver hands. Every so often, a fish breaks the surface, a small ripple, a soft sound, and then stillness again. A wooden bridge crosses that river. No one walks it now, but the boards creak softly in the night wind. The air is colder here, and the mist hangs low, thick enough to blur the far bank. For a long moment, nothing moves. Only the steady heartbeat of the village remains. The quiet breathing of sleepers, the crackle of a dying fire, the whisper of wind through thatch. If you stood there, in the middle of that silence, you could almost feel the weight of time. Hundreds of nights like this, unchanged, unhurried, each one folding into the next. The moon reaches its highest point. Its light spills across the rooftops, sliding through tiny windows, touching the faces of those who dream. It turns straw into silver, dust into glitter, ordinary life into something almost holy. And still, the village sleeps. The night has reached its quietest hour. The moon hangs directly above the village, its pale light resting on every rooftop, every path, every silent door. This is the hour when even dreams grow still. The fires are low, the air is cold, and time itself seems to pause, as if the world is holding its breath. Frost gathers on the grass, turning each blade into glass. The air smells sharp and clean, filled with the scent of smoke and river mist. A dog shifts in its sleep, its fur rising against the chill. From somewhere deep in the forest, a wolf calls, low, distant, and mournful. It echoes through the valley, across the frozen fields, until it fades into the hills. A moment later, an owl answers, a slow, haunting cry that drifts above the rooftops. Inside the cottages, sleep is deep and dreamless. A father stirs beside the dying fire, reaches out to place another log, and drifts back into silence. The soft crackle of flame is the only sound in the room. In another home, a candle burns faintly. Someone couldn't sleep. A young woman sits near the window, her shawl pulled close around her shoulders. She looks out at the moonlit street, the way the shadows bend across the cobblestones. Her breath fogs the glass, and she draws a small pattern there with her finger, a flower, a memory of summer. Then she smiles faintly, and the candle flickers out. The wind grows colder. It moves through the trees like a soft hand brushing the leaves. The branches creak. The old sign above the inn sways gently on its hook. Out beyond the last cottage, where the fields meet the woods, a stream winds quietly through the dark. Its surface is thinly frozen, but underneath, the water keeps moving. A slow, patient whisper, the sound of life that never truly stops. The watchman has finished his round. He rests against the stone wall by the church, pulls his cloak tighter, and watches the stars. His eyes are heavy, but he stays awake, not because he must, but because he likes this hour. He likes the way the village looks when everything is calm, when every worry has gone to sleep. Above him, the church bell glints in the moonlight. It will not ring again until dawn. For now, it too is part of the stillness. A small barn door shifts slightly in the wind. A few chickens murmur in their dreams. A horse stamps once, snorts softly, and then returns to quiet. Every sound carries farther now. The whisper of the wind through grass, the creak of a shutter, the distant flow of water. They weave together into a kind of gentle rhythm, the music of a world asleep. And then a thin veil of mist begins to rise. It curls along the ground, gathering at the edges of the fields, rolling through the lanes between the houses. It softens every outline, turns every shape to shadow. The village looks less like a place and more like a memory, something floating halfway between dream and waking. If you were to walk those streets now, you would hear your footsteps echo softly, see your breath drift into silver air. You'd feel the cold, but also something else, a stillness older than the village itself, the kind that makes you stop and listen and realize that for all its silence, the night is very much alive. In the woods, a fox pauses mid-step. Its ears twitch. It listens. Then it moves again, light as a shadow, and disappears between the trees. The stars begin to fade, just barely. Their light softens at the edges, as if the sky itself is beginning to breathe again. The coldest hour is ending. Soon, the first hint of dawn will find its way across the fields. But for now, the village remains wrapped in darkness, peaceful, ancient, untouched. The fires sleep, the people dream, the world waits. The first sound of morning comes not from the sky, but from the ground, a single rooster's call echoing through the mist. It cuts gently through the stillness, not loud, not hurried, just enough to remind the world that the night is ending. The stars fade one by one. Their silver light dissolves into the soft grey of dawn. A thin ribbon of colour appears on the horizon, pale blue, then rose, then gold. The mist glows faintly in that light, as if the whole village is waking beneath a veil. The watchman lowers his hood. His lantern has burned low, a tiny flame fighting the cold. He exhales once, then smiles. The hardest part of the night is over. He walks toward the church steps, where the stone is damp with dew. Soon the bell will ring for morning prayer. Inside the cottages, sleep begins to lighten. Someone turns over in bed. Someone coughs softly. A baby stirs, stretching tiny fingers toward the warmth of the blankets. In one home, the mother rises first. She wraps a shawl around her shoulders, moves quietly so the others don't wake. She stokes the ashes in the hearth, breathing life into the faint red glow until it catches again. A small flame flickers, then another, and slowly the room begins to glow with color. The smell of smoke returns, gentle, familiar. The sound of crackling wood echoes softly through the morning air. Outside, the mist begins to lift. The roofs emerge first, then the fences, then the winding path through the fields. Dew clings to every surface, tiny diamonds in the new light. The church bell rings, one clear, calm note, then another. The sound rolls across the valley, touching every house, every heart that hears it. It's not a command, it's a greeting. The day has come. At the edge of the village, the farmer steps out from his cottage. He squints against the pale light, his breath a cloud in the cold air. He picks up his tools, rubs his hands together for warmth, and looks toward the field. The earth waits for him, as it always does. Nearby, the baker is already awake. He kneads dough by the glow of his oven, the smell of yeast filling the air. The steady rhythm of his hands is almost like a prayer, soft, patient, unchanging. Soon the first loaves will rise, and the village will wake to the scent of warm bread. Children begin to stir, blankets rustle, tiny feet hit the cold floor. There's laughter now, quiet at first, then brighter as the morning grows. Outside, the light changes again. The sun's edge appears above the hills, and the world seems to exhale in relief. Colors return, the green of grass, the brown of wood, the golden glow of straw roofs catching fire in the light. Smoke rises from every chimney. The river glitters, its surface rippling with the breeze. Birds burst from the trees, sparrows, crows, doves, their wings flashing in the sun. And for the first time in hours, the village hums again. Doors open, buckets clatter, voices call across the lanes. The rhythm of work begins, the same as yesterday, the same as every day before. Yet in this moment, as the light spills through the mist and the fires burn bright again, it feels new. Every dawn feels new. The night is gone. The cold, the stillness, the quiet heartbeat of darkness, all folded gently away, like a story that will be told again when the sun sets once more. The day has begun. The morning is fully awake now. The mist has drifted off toward the forest, and the first clear light of the sun rests on the rooftops like a blessing. The air is crisp, the sky a pale blue streaked with white clouds, and the sounds of life ripple through the village. The clang of a bucket, the creak of cartwheels, the low voices of people beginning their day. The baker's door stands open. Steam pours from the oven, carrying the smell of warm bread down the narrow lane. Children pass by on errands, pausing to peek through the doorway, drawn by the scent. The baker smiles, hands them the smallest rolls, and watches them run off laughing. By the well, women gather to draw water. Their chatter fills the morning air, a song of clinking pails and soft laughter. They speak of weather, of wool that needs washing, of hens that haven't laid. The sound is gentle, rhythmic, woven into the fabric of the day. In the fields, men walk behind oxen once again. The soil, damp with dew, turns dark beneath the plough. The sun glints off the metal, the rains creak, and the air smells of earth, fresh, honest, alive. Crows follow behind, calling softly as they pick through the furrows. A boy chases them, shouting half-heartedly, but smiling when they scatter into the sky. Near the church, a few villagers kneel at the steps. Their prayers are quiet, their heads bowed toward the light. The bell above them sways gently in the breeze, catching the sun on its rim. The blacksmith's hammer strikes again. Each ring echoes through the square, steady, sure, a heartbeat of work. Sparks fly in bursts of orange and gold, then vanish into the daylight. He pauses only to wipe his brow, then begins again, the rhythm of his trade unchanged by time. The scent of baking, the sound of metal, the low murmur of voices, they blend together into a calm hum of life. A flock of geese passes overhead, their wings flashing white against the blue. They move in perfect formation, a thin line crossing the sky. For a moment, everyone looks up, their faces lit by the same light, their thoughts as simple as the flight itself, the beauty of motion, the promise of another season. By the edge of the village, a shepherd opens the pen. The sheep pour out in a wave of white and brown. Their bleats echo softly across the fields. The dog runs ahead, turning them toward the meadow. The shepherd follows with a stick in hand, humming an old tune under his breath. The air grows warmer. The frost melts from the grass. Water drips from the eaves, catching sunlight like glass beads before falling. Inside the cottages, floors are swept, linen hung to dry, and stews begin to simmer again. The smell of herbs drifts through open doors, mingling with the smoke of the hearth. Children sit outside, playing with sticks and pebbles, drawing shapes in the dust. They argue, they laugh, then forget and laugh again. Their voices carry across the fields, light and bright as birdsong. The sun climbs higher, the shadows shorten. The village, alive and moving, feels steady, like a heart that beats without thought. Everywhere life hums quietly, not rushed, not loud, but certain, as if this morning has happened 1,000 times before, and will happen 1,000 times again. And yet, for those who stand still long enough to notice, it feels like the first morning in the world. The air smells of wood and bread. The light feels soft on the skin, and the sound of the wind through the trees is enough to make even the busiest hand pause for just a moment and breathe. The sun stands high above the village now. Its light pours down over the fields, turning the earth a deep gold. The air is warmer, filled with the soft hum of insects and the faint ring of distant work. The sky is wide and clear. Only a few clouds drift lazily across it, their shadows sliding gently over the ground. The breeze carries the scent of hay and river water, and somewhere faintly a bell chimes the hour. Midday, the fields shimmer with heat. Men pause to wipe their brows, leaning on their tools for a moment's rest. A jug of water is passed from hand to hand, each sip slow and grateful. The oxen stand still, tails flicking idly at flies, their sides glistening in the light. At the edge of the field, a group of women gather wild herbs, mint, thyme, and sage. Their baskets fill with green and silver leaves, their laughter soft but bright. They talk quietly of small things, a mended roof, a neighbor's new baby, the taste of last night's stew. Their voices blend with the wind, a melody as old as the land itself. Back in the village square, children run barefoot through the dust. They chase a wooden hoop, their laughter echoing off the stone walls. The blacksmith's hammer rings less often now. Even iron rests beneath the sun. The baker has finished his morning loaves. He sits in the shade of his doorway, a cup of ale beside him, watching the world go by. The smell of bread still clings to his hands, warm and sweet. The air is full of sound, not loud, but layered. The cluck of hens, the creak of a cart, the distant bleating of sheep. Each note falls into place, as if the village itself is singing softly to the rhythm of the day. Near the well, a woman pours water over her wrists, letting the cold run down her arms. She sighs, half tired, half content. Her reflection wavers on the rippling surface. The sun glints off the bucket's rim like a ring of fire. In the meadow, the shepherd lies in the grass, his hat tilted over his eyes. The sheep graze slowly nearby, their movement steady, patient. He listens to the hum of bees, the rustle of tall grass, the soft murmur of the river below. The sounds blur together into something gentle and endless. Inside one cottage, an old woman spins wool. Her wheel turns in quiet rhythm, thread winding neatly around her hand. Her cat sleeps at her feet, tail twitching with each slow breath. Light filters through the small window, falling in golden lines across the floor. The hours drift by. Work continues, but slower now, unhurried, steady. There is no rush here, no noise beyond what life itself makes. Even the birds have grown quiet. They perch in the hedges, their feathers glinting in the light, their songs replaced by silence. For a moment, the whole world seems to stand still. Only the faint ripple of the river and the distant toll of a bell mark the passing of time. Midday in the village, a pause between the labor of morning and the long breath of evening to come. Everything is alive and yet perfectly calm. If you were to stand there in the center of the square, you'd feel it, that balance between motion and rest, between work and peace, the kind of quiet that doesn't need silence to exist. And as the sun begins to slide slowly toward the west, the day turns again, toward shadow, toward firelight, toward home. The afternoon begins to soften. The bright edge of the sun turns warmer, gentler, spilling a golden haze across the village. The fields shimmer in the light. Every stalk of grain glows. Every ripple of wind looks like silk. The oxen move slowly now, their work nearly done, their hooves heavy in the soil. The men call to one another quietly, not shouting, just a few low words carried by the wind. Their shadows stretch long across the furrows, and the scent of freshly turned earth fills the air like the memory of rain. The women by the well begin to gather their things. baskets full, hands dusty from the road, they make their way back toward the cottages, the sound of their steps soft against the path. A few stop to talk, their laughter drifting into the warm light, as if the day itself is smiling. Children return from the fields, their cheeks flushed with sun, their arms full of wildflowers and reeds. They toss stones into puddles, race along fences, and call out to the dogs waiting at the gates. The blacksmith hangs up his apron. The glow of his forge fades from orange to dull red. He wipes his hands on a rag, steps into the open air, and breathes deeply. The sound of hammer and fire gives way to the hum of insects, the faint chirp of sparrows in the eaves. The baker carries his last loaves to the small shelf outside his door. He looks up at the sky, the color of honey now, and nods quietly to himself. He knows this light. It means the hardest work is done. Down by the stream, the shepherd guides his flock home. The sheep move in a slow, white river through the grass, bells clinking faintly around their necks. The dog circles behind them, ears sharp, tail wagging at the sound of the shepherd's whistle. The air cools a little. The heat of the day lingers only on the stones, where children's bare feet leave small prints of dust. From open windows, the smell of cooking begins to spread. Onions, herbs, a hint of smoke. Voices call back and forth across the lanes. Someone laughs, someone sings a few soft notes of an old tune. The church bell rings once, a single slow sound. It echoes gently through the valley, a sign that the sun is turning west, that it's nearly time to rest. In the fields, the last cart creaks toward the village. Wheels roll through ruts in the dirt, the wood groaning under the weight of the harvest. Crows fly low over the fields, their dark wings flashing gold in the light. The shepherd pauses at the gate, looks back once toward the hills, and sees the sky aflame, orange, red, and fading to violet at the edges. He pulls his cloak tighter, smiles, and begins to whistle as he walks home. One by one, doors open. People step outside, faces lit by the soft sun. Some talk quietly with neighbors, some sit on steps with mugs of ale, watching the light sink lower. The air is full of peace, not silence, but the quiet of work well done. The village glows, not with fire, but with the warmth of evening. Every rooftop, every path, every leaf of grass seems to hold the day's last light a little longer, as if reluctant to let it go. Soon, the first shadows of night will begin to climb again from the edges of the woods. But for now, for this one golden hour, everything feels suspended, as if the world has remembered how to rest without stopping. The bell rings once more, and the sound carries through the fields like a slow heartbeat. The day is almost done. The sun drifts lower, touching the tops of the trees with molten light. The air grows cooler, but the warmth of the earth still lingers underfoot, a slow, breathing heat that fades with every minute. Shadows stretch long across the fields, reaching from the cottages toward the woods. The sound of the wind changes, turning softer, deeper, a whisper instead of a song. A woman stands by her doorway, her apron dusted with flour, her hair loosened from the day's work. She watches the sky darken by degrees, the colors melting from gold to rose, from rose to gray. She doesn't speak, but her eyes reflect the last light like small candles. In the lane, a man leads his ox back to the stable. He pats the animal's neck, mutters a few gentle words, and closes the gate with care. The creak of wood and the quiet snort of the beast are the only sounds left in the air. The baker's fire has gone out. A thin line of smoke curls from his chimney, rising straight into the still evening. He wipes the table clean, sets aside the last loaf, and sighs, a sound that means both pride and weariness. Inside the cottages, the world begins to glow again. Candles are lit one by one, their flames trembling at first, then standing steady in the hush. Light spills from the windows, golden rectangles across the dirt path, shimmering faintly through the mist. Children are called indoors. Their laughter fades as doors close, leaving only the soft thud of footsteps, the clatter of bowls, the murmur of voices preparing for supper. In the distance, the blacksmith's forge flickers once more, not for work, just a small fire for warmth, for the company of its glow. He sits nearby, hands resting on his knees, watching the coals crackle and pulse like the heart of the earth itself. A dog barks twice, then settles down by the doorway. The night has claimed the sky now, a deep, endless blue freckled with stars. Someone begins to sing softly, a low, wordless tune that drifts across the village like smoke through still air. The sound carries from house to house, mixing with the rhythm of crickets and the faint rustle of the river. The shepherd sits outside his hut, mending a strap by the firelight. His flock rests nearby, huddled close, their breathing slow and even. He looks up at the moon, thin, pale, just beginning to rise above the trees. He remembers the cold nights to come, frost on the windows, the bite of wind through the gaps in the door. And yet, he smiles. Because this moment, this soft night between seasons, feels like a promise that they'll endure it all again. The bell in the church tower rings once more, a low, steady note, long enough to echo through the valley. It tells the people the day has ended, time to rest. Inside the homes, prayers are whispered, hands clasped, heads bowed. Simple words of thanks for warmth, for food, for another evening alive beneath the same sky. The flames in the hearths dance low. The sound of spoons on bowls slows, then fades. One by one, voices fall silent. Outside, the moon climbs higher, silvering the roofs and fields. The village is wrapped now in the calm of its own breathing, a single living thing asleep beneath the stars. The night deepens. The last fires have quieted to a faint, glowing breath. The air outside is cool now, sharp enough that every sound seems clearer, more alive. The cottages stand still beneath the moonlight. Their thatched roofs glimmer faintly with dew. No wind moves through the trees. Even the river sounds gentler, as if it too has grown tired. A soft mist begins to rise from the fields, curling low around the fences and wells, pooling in hollows like pale smoke. The village looks half-dreamed, its edges blurred, its shapes softened by night. Inside the homes, the day's warmth lingers in the walls. A faint glow from the hearth casts shadows across wooden floors. You can hear the slow creak of timber as the house settles, like an old creature stretching in its sleep. A man turns over in bed, murmuring something half-formed. The woman beside him shifts too, pulling the blanket higher against the chill. Outside, their small window reflects the moon like a silver eye watching over them. In another house, a baby stirs, a quiet whimper, a soft hush in reply, and soon the sound fades again into the rhythm of breathing. Steady, peaceful, timeless. The fire gives one last pop of ember and then stills. From the barn comes the low sound of animals sleeping, the slow chew of hay, the shuffle of hooves on straw, the sigh of a horse in its dreams. A cat slips through the shadows, tail flicking once as it disappears into the night. The church bell is silent now. Only the crickets sing. Their steady, endless song fills the darkness like a blanket, a single note of life stretching through the silence. High above, the stars burn sharp and clear. No smoke to dull their shine, no noise to chase them away. The villagers never name them, but they know their patterns, the slow wheel that marks the turning of the year. Somewhere beyond the fields, an owl cries once, a low, echoing sound that rolls over the rooftops, startling no one. It's part of the night, as familiar as the dawn. A thin frost begins to form on the grass. Every blade catches the moonlight. Every fence post glitters faintly with cold. The air tastes clean, like iron and pine and stillness. The shepherd, half asleep by his fire, pulls his cloak tighter. The coals glow dimly at his feet, a few tiny sparks rising into the dark. He tilts his head back, watching his breath cloud and fade. For a moment, he feels the vastness of it, the quiet weight of the night, the endless dome of stars, the fragile warmth of the fire beside him. And though no one will ever see it, he smiles. Back in the village, the night is almost perfectly still. A door creaks somewhere. A dog gives a single bark. Then silence again, soft and absolute. The world feels ancient now and utterly at rest. The kind of quiet that only exists when every heart beats in rhythm with the earth itself. This is the hour before dreams deepen. When the fires are out, the work is forgotten, and time moves not in minutes or hours, but in the slow breathing of sleep. The hours drift by, quiet and uncounted. The moon has climbed high, then begun its slow descent. Its light, once white and strong, has softened now, a pale haze spread across the rooftops and frost. The village lies motionless, as if carved from silver. Only the faintest wisps of smoke rise from a few chimneys, thin as threads against the stars. Frost coats everything, the handles of tools left by the door, the bare branches above the well, the stones along the road. Each glitters faintly in the cold, turning the world into a field of quiet light. Inside, the people sleep deeply. Their dreams are simple, fields of wheat, songs from the church, the faces of those they love. Nothing grand, nothing strange, just the soft echo of the life they know. The fire in the hearth has burned down to faint orange veins. Ash settles slowly, curling like breath against the blackened stone. The air smells faintly of smoke and wool and warmth. A candle guttered hours ago, its wax pooled at the edge of the table. The room around it is dim, lit only by the reflection of the moon through a gap in the shutters. A man's hand rests open beside his head, calloused and still. The sound of his breathing fills the small space like a lullaby. Beside him, his child stirs once, then settles again, clutching a bit of cloth to her chest. Outside, the world listens. An owl glides silently over the fields, wings outstretched, eyes bright in the moonlight. It dips once, snatches something unseen from the grass, and vanishes again into the dark. In the distance, the river moves beneath a thin layer of mist. Its surface gleams with frost, yet beneath it, water still runs, slow, constant, unchanging. A small sound breaks the stillness, a door shifting in the wind, its hinge sighing like an old voice. Somewhere in the far woods, a branch cracks under the weight of ice. Then silence again, deep and endless. The stars begin to fade, almost too slowly to notice. The horizon to the east grows faintly pale, not yet dawn, but the hint of it, a whisper that light will return. The frost glows softly, silver giving way to blue. The mist lifts in thin ribbons, revealing the outlines of fences and thatched roofs once more. The night, still vast and patient, begins to loosen its hold. The village stirs, not in movement yet, but in some quiet awareness that the world is turning again. Soon the cocks will crow. Soon smoke will rise again from every chimney. But for now, the moment hangs, suspended between dark and light, between sleep and waking, between the end of one day and the beginning of another. The shepherd shifts under his cloak. His fire has gone cold, but the horizon before him glows faintly, like the promise of warmth. He breathes deeply, his breath turning white in the air, and whispers something soft, a word of thanks, or maybe just a greeting to the dawn. The first bird sings, a single note, clear, fragile and filled with life. The night listens once more, and then slowly begins to let go. The horizon brightens, slowly, almost shyly. The deep blue of night begins to melt into grey, and the first strands of pink stretch thinly across the sky. The frost, once silver and sharp, starts to soften under the light. Tiny droplets form on the edges of grass and wood, catching the dawn like scattered glass. The stillness of night lingers a moment longer, a last breath before the day begins. Then, from somewhere far off, a rooster crows, loud, certain, ancient. The sound rolls through the village like a bell announcing the return of life. A dog stirs first, stretching in the cold air, ears twitching at the sound of the bird. Then another dog answers, and another, until the quiet is filled with soft, familiar noise. Inside the cottages, people begin to move. A cough here, a yawn there, the slow rhythm of a house waking up. Someone stirs the ashes in the hearth, coaxing a small spark back to flame. The faint crackle of kindling breaks the silence, and the first breath of smoke curls upward, finding its way through the chimney and into the brightening sky. The woman by the window opens the shutters. Cold air rushes in, crisp and sharp, smelling of frost and clean earth. She breathes it in deeply, then looks out across the fields, a world washed pale with morning light. The men rise one by one, pulling on wool tunics and rough boots, their movements slow but sure. Outside, the fields wait, still damp, still shining with dew. The shepherd is already walking, his stick tapping softly against the ground. His dog trots beside him, tongue out, tail cutting shapes in the air. Together, they move through the mist, toward the faint sound of bleating in the distance. The baker's door opens next. A wave of cool air rushes into his small shop, and he exhales, watching his breath mingle with the dawn. He adds wood to his oven, the flame catching quickly, casting warm light across the stone floor. Soon the smell of bread will fill the air again, the same smell that has marked every morning for as long as the village has stood. The church bell rings once, not for prayer, but for morning itself. Its echo rolls across the valley, bouncing from roof to roof, until even the woods seem to stir in reply. A few children step outside, their bare feet finding the cold earth. They laugh, seeing their breath turn white in the air, and run toward the well where the water glitters like glass. The woman from the cottage lifts a pail, its handle cold in her hand. She lowers it slowly into the still water, listening to the quiet splash as it fills. When she pulls it up again, the surface trembles with reflected light, the first true gold of morning. Smoke rises from every chimney now, soft ribbons against the pale sky. The sound of footsteps fills the lanes. Doors open and close. Voices begin to call out greetings, low and steady, woven into the hum of the waking village. The world has returned to motion. The long night has passed, and yet For a few quiet moments, as the sun's edge touches the rooftops, it feels as though the stillness remains, not gone, just hidden, waiting again for the next dusk to fall. The light grows stronger. The fields glimmer with dew. The villagers step into their day, their shadows long, their hearts steady, their lives simple and full. The medieval night is over, but its peace, its quiet rhythm, lingers like breath on the morning air. The sun climbs slowly above the trees, turning the mist into ribbons of gold. Its light spills gently over the thatched roofs, warming the stones, glinting off puddles and window glass. The village is awake now. You can hear it, the soft rhythm of life returning. Footsteps on the paths, voices calling from door to door, the squeak of a cart's wheel turning for the first time today. Chickens scatter from the lane, their feathers catching the sun. A boy throws grain to them, laughing as they rush around his boots. The smell of baking drifts from the baker's cottage, warm bread, crisp crust, and the faint sweetness of smoke. Near the well, a few women gather with their pails, speaking in low tones. Their words mix with the splash of water, the creak of the rope, and the soft clatter of wood against stone. A child runs past them, barefoot, his hair bright in the sun, his laughter carrying far across the square. The blacksmith opens his doors. The forge flares back to life, the red glow deepening with every breath of the bellows. He lifts his hammer, and the first ring of metal on iron cuts through the morning air, a sound so familiar that no one even looks up. In the fields beyond the walls, the farmers are already at work. Their voices rise and fall in rhythm with the turning of soil, a quiet chant carried by the breeze. The oxen pull steadily, their harnesses creaking, their breath steaming in the cool light. A small group of villagers walk toward the church. Some carry baskets of grain, others small offerings. Fresh bread, a few eggs, a candle stub saved from the night before. The old wooden door opens with a groan, and they step inside, their footsteps soft against the stone. For a moment, only birdsong fills the air outside. The smell of the morning deepens. Earth, wood smoke, fresh water, and life. It's the same scent that every generation before has known. It carries a quiet truth, that the world, no matter how hard, keeps beginning again. By midday, the village hums with work. The clatter of tools, the bark of dogs, the rustle of wind in the wheat. The sunlight gleams on rooftops and fences, each shadow sharp and still. And yet, beneath all the movement, there's calm. An unspoken rhythm that has guided them for centuries. Wake, work, rest, and dream. Each day folded gently into the next. The same fields that froze under moonlight now shimmer with heat. The same hands that built the fires now lift grain and bread. The same hearts that prayed for warmth now thank the sun for its return. The medieval village breathes as one, its people, its land, its sky, all bound together in a slow, steady harmony. In time, the sun will fall again. The shadows will lengthen, and the candles will return to the windows. But for now, the light is kind, and the day feels endless. Every sound, every face, every small task is part of a pattern older than memory, a quiet circle that turns with the earth, softly, forever. The afternoon drifts quietly toward evening. The sunlight, once bright and white, now glows with a softer hue, amber, golden, gentle. The heat fades from the stones, and long shadows begin to reach across the fields once more. The rhythm of the day slows. Tools are set aside. Cartwheels stop turning, and voices soften as if the whole village is exhaling at the same time. The shepherd returns first, his flock moving lazily ahead of him. The bells on their necks ring in uneven harmony, each sound like a fading memory of the morning. Dust rises around their feet, catching the low sun in swirls of light. At the well, the women finish their last chores. They laugh quietly, their faces flushed from work, their hands red from cold water. One wipes her palms on her skirt, lifts her gaze toward the horizon, and whispers a small word, part habit, part gratitude. A boy chases a chicken through the lane. An old man sits by the doorway, mending a rope in the fading light. A pot boils softly over a small fire, its scent drifting through the air. Onions, herbs, and something sweet baking in the coals. The sound of the blacksmith's hammer fades, the final ring echoing through the open square. He wipes the sweat from his brow, lays his tools in careful order, and watches the forge die down to embers. The glow paints his hands red, then fades, leaving only the smell of smoke and steel. The baker's last loaves cool on a wooden shelf. He leans against the wall, breathing in the warmth. Outside, a few children wait, coins in their small hands, faces bright as the light that falls through the open door. In the church tower, the bell tolls, a slow, deep note that rolls over the roofs, calling not for prayer, but for peace. It's the sound that ends the day, the signal to come home. The sky turns to fire. Orange, red, and violet bleed together as the sun touches the distant hills. Every field, every rooftop, every face glows in its light. Even the smoke from the chimneys looks painted, curling gold against the darkening blue. Men walk the last stretch of road back from the fields. They speak little, only nods and short words of contentment. The weight of the day sits on their shoulders, but it's a familiar, quiet weight, earned and accepted. Inside the homes, candles are lit again. Their small flames flutter in the twilight, casting soft halos on the walls. The same glow that ended yesterday now returns, steady and faithful. Dinner is served in wooden bowls, bread, stew, and stories. A few songs hum through the rooms, low, unhurried, half memory, half prayer. The wind outside turns cool again, carrying the scent of damp earth and smoke. The dogs curl near the doors, the chickens roost, the fields fall still. The sun slips below the horizon. The last light fades from the sky, leaving behind a wash of blue that deepens with every breath. And once again, the village begins to blur into shadow. The night gathers its edges, folding the world in quiet. The circle is complete, day giving way to darkness, motion giving way to rest. Soon the candles will burn low, the fires will turn to ash, and the world will return to its calm, ancient silence. This is how life endures here, not through grand stories or wars, but through the small rhythm of light and dark, work and sleep, day after day, forever. The sun has vanished beyond the hills. The last streaks of light fade into grey, and the chill of evening settles over the land. Smoke rises from the chimneys again, thin at first, then thick and steady, curling upward into the deepening sky. The scent of firewood and stew drifts through the lanes, mixing with the faint, sweet smell of earth, cooling after a long day. The villagers move slower now. Their steps are softer, their words fewer. It is the quiet hour between work and sleep, when the body rests and the world grows still. A woman stands at her doorway, drying her hands on a cloth. Behind her, the light of the hearth flickers across the walls, painting soft gold on rough wood. She listens to the sounds outside, a cart being rolled into a shed, a door closing, a dog barking once, then lying down, the music of the day's end. The shepherd sits near the edge of the village, his cloak wrapped tight, his dog pressed against his side. The flock is quiet, their shapes barely visible in the fading light. He watches the sky, the first stars blinking into being, cold and small but endless. He doesn't speak. He just breathes, letting the night rise around him. In the square, the old man who mended the rope earlier now tends to a small lantern. He sets it beside the well, its glow spilling over the stones. The flame wavers, then steadies, a small promise of light in the growing dark. Inside the cottages, the sounds of supper fade. Spoons clink once, then no more. The benches creak as people stand, say their short prayers, and begin to prepare for sleep. A mother hums softly as she tucks her child into bed. The melody is old, older than she is, passed down from voices that no longer remain. The tune fills the room like a slow heartbeat, steady and sure. The candle on the table burns low. Its flame trembles as the window lets in a breath of cool air. She reaches out, cups her hand around it, and blows. Darkness, soft and complete. Outside, the moon rises, bright and cold, casting silver light across the rooftops. The frost begins to form again, delicate patterns blooming on every surface. The paths, the wells, the fences, all touched by the quiet shimmer of night. A horse snorts in its stall. A cat leaps silently from a fence post. The wind sighs through the trees. And then, nothing. Just stillness. Deep, ancient, and calm. The bell in the church tower rings once, a slow, low sound that fades into the distance. It marks the hour when even the last fires have turned to quiet coals. In their beds, the villagers sleep once more. Dreams drift through the rooms like thin threads of light. Dreams of fields, of laughter, of another morning not so far away. The world holds its breath. Time slows, and the village rests again beneath the stars, as it has done for hundreds of years. Nothing stirs now, only the faint glow of the moon, the rhythm of quiet breathing, and the eternal hush of a night that belongs to no one and to everyone. The night is deep now. The stars hang low and clear, each one burning quietly in the frozen sky. The moon has climbed high above the village, washing every rooftop, every path, every blade of frost-tipped grass in silver light. All is still. Even the air feels slow, each breath visible, each sound distant, as if the world has wrapped itself in sleep. Inside the cottages, the fires have burned to ash. The last embers glow faintly, a soft pulse beneath a layer of grey. The warmth that remains is gentle, just enough to keep the chill at bay. In one house, a man dreams. He walks through a summer field, barefoot, his hands brushing against tall grass that whispers in the wind. The sun is warm on his skin. Somewhere nearby, a stream runs clear over smooth stones. It's a memory, half real, half gone, but it comforts him as he sleeps. In another cottage, a child dreams too. She sees candles floating in the dark, dozens of them, their flames moving like stars come down to earth. They drift around her, soft and golden, and she reaches out, laughing in her sleep. The wind turns colder outside. It slips through the cracks in the walls, brushes against the corners of the room, and sighs as it moves on. The sound is faint, almost like a voice, low and endless, speaking the same word over and over. Rest. Beyond the fields, the forest is black and silent. Branches glisten with frost. Now and then, snow breaks loose from a branch and falls soundlessly to the ground below. An owl glides between the trees, its wings cutting the air without a sound. It lands on a post, head turning, eyes wide and bright in the moonlight. The river, half frozen now, murmurs softly beneath its skin of ice. Its voice is steady and patient, a song of moving water in a world that seems to have stopped. No one stirs, no footsteps, no bells, only the quiet rhythm of the land itself, breathing in the dark, ancient and slow. The stars wheel slowly overhead. Time feels different here, not counted in hours, but in the tilt of constellations, the way light bends over frost, the way silence gathers and releases again. In the distance, a wolf howls once, long and low, echoing across the hills. The sound carries for miles, touching the edges of the sleeping village, then fading into the still air. No one wakes. They've heard it all their lives. It belongs to the night, as they do. A thin mist begins to rise from the riverbanks. It drifts across the fields, rolling through fences and paths, softening the sharp edges of the world. The moonlight scatters through it, turning the fog into liquid silver. The village is almost invisible now, just shapes and shadows, just breath and light and sleep. If you listen closely, you can hear the faint creak of wood, the quiet sigh of thatched roofs, and the steady sound of hearts beating in time with the slow rhythm of the earth. The medieval night holds them all, the living, the dreaming, the resting, in a silence so deep that even time seems afraid to move. The world has gone completely still, and in that stillness, something sacred stirs, not loud, not bright, but small and enduring. The peace of survival, of life carried gently through another winter's night. The night has grown thin. It's the hour before dawn, the quietest time of all. The moon has drifted westward, its light pale and tired now, barely clinging to the frost-covered roofs. The stars have softened too, their sharp glow fading into a faint silver haze. Over the hills, a single bird stirs. Its wings rustle against the branches, a fragile sound that breaks the stillness. It does not sing yet, only moves, as if sensing that something ancient and certain is about to return. Inside the cottages, the fires are long gone. The ashes rest cold in the hearths, grey and silent, but the rooms are peaceful, warm not with flame, but with breath. A steady rhythm of sleep fills the air like the hum of a faraway sea. The blacksmith's hammer sleeps beside his anvil. The shepherd's cloak hangs on a peg by the door. The spinning wheel, the basket of grain, the half-mended shoe, all frozen in their own kind of rest, waiting for the world to wake. The air outside is crisp, almost glass-like. Each blade of grass glitters faintly in the moonlight. Frost clings to every wooden beam, every stone, every rope, turning the village into a sculpture of ice and silver. Then, almost too gently to notice, the darkness begins to change. The horizon softens. The stars near the edge of the sky begin to fade, one by one, like candles being blown out in some faraway room. The bird stirs again, and this time it sings, a single note, clear and lonely, that hangs in the cold air and doesn't fall. It is answered by another, and another. Soon the air is trembling with the quiet sound of waking life. The village remains still, but the world beyond it, the trees, the fields, the sky, has already begun to move. A faint line of color appears in the east, not yet gold, not yet pink, but something in between. A whisper of light touches the clouds, and the night begins to dissolve. Inside, the man who dreamed of summer moves in his sleep. The child who saw the candles turns over and sighs. Their dreams start to fade, but gently, as if the morning knows to wait. The wind rises again, not cold this time, but soft. It brushes through the cracks of every door, lifting a few stray feathers, carrying the scent of dew and soil. Somewhere, a rooster calls, once, twice, then silence again. But it's enough. The village hears it, not with ears, but with something deeper, something that remembers. The light grows. The sky blushes with color, soft peach, then pale gold, spilling slowly over the rooftops. The mist begins to melt away. The world, once hidden, reveals itself again. A door creaks open. A figure steps outside, pulling a shawl close around her shoulders. She looks toward the fields, the faint glow, the returning day. She smiles, small and tired, but full of quiet relief. The frost glitters once more, catching the new light, then vanishes as warmth touches the ground. Somewhere, a bucket fills at the well. A dog stretches, shakes off the cold, and trots down the lane. The village is waking, not suddenly, but gently, like a song remembered after silence. And as the first rays of sunlight fall across the cobblestones, the long medieval night, the quiet, the frost, the stillness, fades at last into morning. The fire will burn again, the bread will rise, the bells will ring, and life, slow, fragile, human life, will begin its rhythm once more. For now, the night is gone, but its peace remains, lingering like breath on cold glass, a reminder that even in the hardest times, the light always returns. The first full light of morning spills across the fields. The sky has turned from grey to gold, and the frost that covered the world melts into 1,000 glittering drops. They slide down thatched roofs, cling to wooden fences, and sink slowly into the dark soil. The village breathes again. Chickens stir in their coops. A cartwheel creaks as it's rolled out into the lane. The smell of wood smoke returns, thin at first, then stronger as new fires are lit. A woman steps outside her door, a scarf wrapped tight around her hair. She carries a small wooden bucket and walks toward the well. The air bites, but the sun feels warm on her face. She glances toward the hills, where the light climbs higher every moment, and for a second she just stands still, breathing it in. In the distance, a man opens the barn. The hinges groan softly. A horse whinnies inside, its breath rising like smoke in the cold air. He pats its neck, murmuring something low, and begins to carry out hay. The village, once silent, fills again with the gentle rhythm of life. A door shuts, a broom sweeps, footsteps echo on stone. No one speaks loudly, voices stay soft, as if even the morning must be treated with care. The blacksmith steps out next. He rolls his shoulders, his breath visible in the cool air. For a while, he simply stands there, watching the sunlight strike the iron tools on his bench. Soon, he'll begin again, the clang of hammer on metal, the heartbeat of the village's work. But not yet. For now, he waits, listening to the stillness. The baker's window glows faintly. Inside, the fire burns steady. She shapes the dough with slow, practiced hands, dusting flour into the air like snow. The scent of baking bread seeps through the cracks in the door, and before long, it reaches every street. Children stir in their beds. They yawn, stretch, and listen to the sounds of morning. The crows outside, the clatter of pots, the faint hum of voices returning to the day. The church bell rings once. The sound rolls gently across the fields, carrying with it the promise of warmth and work, of another day survived. The shepherd calls for his dog. They walk toward the meadow, the grass wet beneath their boots. The mist lifts slowly around them, revealing the shape of the flock, dozens of small white forms moving together under the pale light of dawn. He hums as he walks, a tune without words, steady and low, rising and falling with the rhythm of his steps. It drifts across the land, soft as breath, old as the hills themselves. By mid-morning, the village is fully awake. Smoke climbs once more from every chimney. Laughter echoes faintly from the well. The sound of a wheel turning mixes with the bark of a dog. The world has colour again, brown earth, green moss, golden straw, all of it warmed by the slow, patient sun. It is another ordinary day. No celebration, no danger, no history written in ink or stone, just life, quiet, small and unremarkable. And yet, in this stillness, there's something sacred, the peace of work well known, the comfort of things that never change, the sound of a world turning gently forward, as it always has and always will. The night has passed. The long hours of cold and silence are over, but their calm remains, woven into the air, into the rhythm of every step and breath. Somewhere a child laughs, somewhere else a mother calls her name, and the day begins again, softly, peacefully, in the heart of a medieval village that has survived another night. By midday, the light has softened into a warm, golden haze. The frost is gone, the soil damp and dark beneath the sun. The village rests between work and stillness, not hurried, not idle, simply alive. The fields shimmer faintly in the light. The wind moves slowly across the wheat, bending the stalks in gentle waves, like the sea made of earth. From a distance, you can hear the quiet murmur of the workers, their voices low, broken by laughter every now and then, the kind of laughter that carries no weight. The air smells of hay, warm stone, and smoke from the bread ovens. Dogs sleep in the shade, their ears twitching now and then at the faint buzz of flies. Chickens peck near the fences, their feathers glowing softly in the light. Near the edge of the village, a man repairs a wooden cart. Each creak of the wheel echoes gently through the still air. He pauses often, not out of weariness, but to listen. The world hums quietly around him. The chirping of insects, the sigh of the wind through open fields, the faint ringing of the bell from the chapel tower. Inside one of the cottages, a woman kneads dough again. Her hands move rhythmically, turning, folding, pressing, a motion she's known all her life. Her sleeves are rolled, and a few strands of hair stick to her forehead. A soft tune hums on her lips, something old and shapeless, half song, half memory. In the doorway, a child watches her. The child's hands rest on the wood, eyes following every movement, the flower, the shape, the rhythm. For a moment, the world feels suspended between generations, a chain of gestures and sounds, passed quietly through time. The sun climbs higher. Its heat settles over the rooftops, glinting off the thatch, warming the stones. The distant hills blur into a pale gold haze. The blacksmith's hammer rings again, steady and sure. The sound carries far, cutting gently through the calm air. With every strike, a spark leaps up, brief, bright, then gone. But for that instant, it shines like a fragment of the sun itself. In the square, a few villagers rest in the shade of a tree. Their talk is slow, words spaced with long silences. They watch a cart pass, its wheels leaving soft tracks in the dust. Time here is wide, no rush, no hurry, only the steady drift of day into afternoon. A breeze stirs the laundry hanging on the lines. White cloth flutters against the sky, the sound crisp and gentle. Somewhere nearby, a river flows, its low murmur joining the hum of bees in the air. For a moment, everything seems to move in rhythm. The river, the leaves, the faint sway of the fields. Even the people, in their quiet work, seem part of the same slow heartbeat. The village is alive, but peacefully so. A world without noise, without rush, without anything to disturb the balance between earth and sky. A few clouds drift overhead. Their shadows slide softly across the grass, touching rooftops and fields, then moving on. The sunlight returns, warm and clean, filling every corner of the day. The bell rings again, not loud, just enough to remind everyone that time is still moving. But here, in this moment, it hardly seems to matter. The world is content to stay still, to breathe, to exist quietly under the steady light of the medieval sun. The afternoon drifts slowly, like a long breath held by the world itself. The sunlight softens, turning from gold to amber, then to the quiet hue of fading warmth. Shadows stretch across the ground, long and thin, touching fences, wells, and doorways. A breeze stirs the trees again, carrying with it the faint scent of earth and smoke. It moves through the lanes, rustling loose straw, fluttering the edges of linen still drying in the air. In the fields, the day's work begins to slow. The sound of tools striking soil grows lighter, punctuated by long pauses of rest. Men straighten their backs, wipe their hands against their tunics, and gaze at the far horizon. The sky is wide there, painted in faint streaks of cloud that drift like brushstrokes of light. The women gather baskets, tying them shut with twine. Their laughter is low and tired, but gentle, the kind of laughter that lives close to silence. They walk back toward the cottages, their footsteps soft, their shadows swaying with each slow step. By the stream, a boy kneels with a wooden bowl. He dips it into the clear water, watching ripples dance across the surface. For a moment, he sees his own reflection, the same face that will grow older one day, that will stand in the same place, doing the same thing, as the years turn. He smiles faintly, then drinks. The water is cold and sweet. The blacksmith sets down his hammer. His arms ache, but he feels the good kind of tired, the kind that comes from honest work. He pours a small cup of water, takes a slow sip, and looks toward the church tower. The light catches on the iron he's shaped today, glinting like a row of captured suns. He smiles, then wipes his brow with the back of his hand. In the square, the children's voices return, soft at first, then louder as the sun dips lower. They chase one another through the dust, their laughter echoing between the cottages. A few women call to them gently, but not to stop, only to keep close, to stay where the shadows still feel warm. The bell tolls once. Its sound rolls through the air, low and full, settling over the roofs like a blanket. It marks the turning hour, the slow slide from afternoon into evening. The animals begin to move too. The cows are led back to their pens, the chickens gathered, the sheep driven once more toward the fences. Each creature seems to know its place, its path, its rhythm within the fading light. The sky turns softer still, a wash of colour between blue and gold. The first cool edge of night touches the wind. The villagers can feel it. Their pace slows further. Their voices fall quieter. Someone lights the first fire of evening. The smoke rises again, curling lazily into the open air, catching the light as it climbs. Soon others follow, one fire then another, until the village breathes again beneath a veil of thin, glowing smoke. The smell of cooking begins to spread. Onions, bread, broth simmering over the coals. Doors open, shadows flicker across walls, and the sound of spoons, plates, and quiet chatter fills the dusk. The light of day lingers a little longer on the hills. Then slowly, it fades away, leaving behind the warmth of the fires, the hum of gentle voices, and the calm heartbeat of a world slipping peacefully back into night. The sun sinks lower, touching the tops of the hills with a deep, honey-colored glow. The air grows cool again, and the long shadows of the cottages stretch across the lanes until they merge into one soft shade. The last of the day's voices fade into the hum of evening. Children are called inside. Doors close gently. The village begins to fold in on itself, a slow return to stillness. Smoke rises from the chimneys once more, but now it smells different, richer, softer, carrying the scent of soup and bread, of stewed vegetables and herbs dried by the summer sun. The air feels heavy with calm. Inside one cottage, a family gathers near the hearth. The flames dance low, casting light that trembles on every surface, on rough wooden bowls, on iron pots, on faces that have known both work and peace. They eat slowly, not speaking much, just the sound of spoons, the crackle of fire, and the faint wind pressing against the shutters. The father glances toward the window. The last bit of sun disappears beyond the hills. He nods once, quietly, as though greeting the coming night. Outside, the lanes grow empty. A stray cat moves along a wall, its eyes catching the fading light. From the barn comes a low sound, the horse shifting its weight, settling into rest. Every sound now seems larger in the silence. Each footstep, each creak, each whisper of wind through thatch. The sky deepens from amber to violet, and then to the soft, endless blue of night. Stars appear one by one, like tiny fires lit by unseen hands. The moon rises soon after, a pale arc that spills silver across the roofs and fences. The church bell rings once more, a single slow note. It drifts through the air, soft and patient, as though it has rung that same note for centuries. At the well, a woman draws her last bucket of water. The rope groans quietly as she pulls, the sound echoing faintly in the night air. She pauses for a moment to look at the reflection in the water, the moon trembling on its surface, the faint outline of her face beside it. Then she smiles to herself and walks home. The fires burn low again. One by one, the windows darken. Only the faint orange glow remains, a heartbeat of warmth in every home. Somewhere, a lullaby hums, a mother's voice, soft and low, barely louder than breath. The tune drifts through the cracks in the door, floating into the night. It joins the sound of crickets, the rustle of leaves, the slow pulse of the sleeping world. The village has grown quiet again. The lanes are empty. The air is still. Only the sound of the wind remains, and even that feels tired, like it too is ready to rest. Above, the stars have multiplied, a river of light stretching across the heavens. The moonlight touches the fields, turning every blade of grass to silver. The same light brushes against the thatched roofs, the worn doors, the resting hands of those who sleep inside. And once more, the medieval night returns, slow, deep, and eternal. A blanket of peace laid gently over all who live within it. The world, ancient and familiar, breathes in harmony with the dark. Every sound fades, every light softens, until only stillness remains, pure and endless. The night watches over them all, the shepherd, the blacksmith, the mother and child, every soul beneath the stars, dreaming quietly, safe beneath the quiet sky. The cycle is complete, day to night, light to shadow, work to rest, and beneath it all, the same steady heartbeat of a village that endures, unchanged, unhurried, at peace. The night holds steady now, no wind, no footsteps, no voice, only the faint rhythm of a sleeping world. The moon hangs high above the village, a white, unblinking eye watching over rooftops and fields. Its light moves across the land like water, touching every surface with a gentle, silver calm. The cottages rest beneath it, their walls breathing faintly in the cold. Inside, every fire has dimmed to ember. The air smells of smoke and wool and quiet life. The people dream, each in their own way, each wrapped in warmth, unaware of how beautiful their stillness is. In one house, a candle still flickers. An old man sits awake, hands folded, eyes fixed on the flame. He isn't waiting for anything, only listening. To the ticking of the old wooden beam above him, to the faint hiss of cooling ash in the hearth. He feels the weight of years, but also the peace of them. After a while, he reaches out, cups his hand around the candle, and breathes gently. The flame vanishes. The darkness returns, soft, complete, kind. Outside, the night deepens even more. The stars seem closer now, as if they've leaned down to listen to the earth. The world feels small beneath them, and yet infinite, a single village beneath an endless sky. The river whispers quietly beyond the trees. Its frozen edges crack now and then, tiny echoes in the stillness. The sound blends with the creak of wood, the sigh of sleeping animals, the distant hum of the wind through the valley. Together they form a song, the song of the night itself. It's the same song that's been heard for centuries, long before these walls were built, long before names were written down, long before memory. It's the voice of the land, the rhythm of the seasons, the eternal hush between dusk and dawn. And though no one is awake to hear it, it continues, steady as breath. The hours pass unseen. The stars drift westward, their light thinning as the horizon brightens again. A faint trace of silver appears far to the east. The dark begins to fade, not suddenly, but slowly, as if even the morning is reluctant to disturb the beauty of this quiet. In the barns, animals stir. A horse shakes its mane. A dog stretches and yawns. Somewhere, a door creaks open, and cold air slips inside. The first faint scent of dawn spreads through the lanes. Damp wood, smoke, and soil. The night exhales. Its long silence loosens, giving way once more to life. Soon the villagers will rise. The fires will be lit again, and the smoke will climb into the pale sky. Hands will reach for tools, for bread, for one another, and the rhythm will begin anew. The same rhythm that has carried them through endless nights and countless mornings. But for this moment, this thin space between dark and light, the world stands still, perfectly balanced, perfectly calm. The first bird sings, just one note, clear, small, and bright. It cuts through the air like a thread of gold, and the silence parts to let it through. The medieval village, the fires, the fields, the dreams, the lives, breathes once more beneath the rising dawn. And as the light returns, the night folds quietly away, leaving behind only peace and the memory of stillness. The story fades here, not ending, only resting. Because in places like this, time does not stop. It turns softly, like the wheel of a cart, like the seasons themselves, carrying life forward in silence. And somewhere beyond the hills, a new day begins. And so the village drifts into morning, a slow, quiet unfolding of light. The mist that lingers over the fields glows faintly in the sun's first touch. Each droplet clings to the grass, a tiny mirror holding the pale gold of dawn. The thatched roofs shimmer with dew. The chimneys breathe again, thin trails of smoke curling into the air, like the dreams that still hang above the sleeping homes. A cart rolls softly over the damp road. Its wheels creak, its rhythm steady, as though even wood and iron know not to rush this hour. The driver hums an old tune, one he learned from his father and his father before him, a tune that sounds almost like prayer. The village begins to stir. Doors open, hinges groan, footsteps echo faintly across stone and soil. Somewhere, a rooster crows. Somewhere else, a child yawns and hides beneath a blanket for just one more moment of warmth. A woman steps outside, wraps her shawl tight, and looks toward the hills. The world is still wrapped in the softness of night, but the horizon burns faintly with promise. She whispers something, a greeting perhaps, or a wish, and then turns toward her day. In the fields beyond, frost still glitters between the furrows. The soil sleeps beneath it, waiting, patient as always. The people who walk these lands know this patience well. It lives in their hands, in their hearts, in the rhythm of every sunrise. They do not rush toward the day. They grow into it, step by step, as though each morning must be earned through stillness first. Inside one of the cottages, an old woman stirs the ashes in her hearth. The embers glow faintly, then catch, then rise into new flames. She watches them lift, and for a moment, the fire reflects in her eyes. The same fire that's burned in that hearth for generations. Outside, a man walks toward the well, buckets swinging at his side. The rope creaks as he lowers it down, and a hollow echo answers from below. When he pulls it back up, water glistens on his hands, cold and clear. He takes a sip, then splashes a little onto his face. Steam rises as it meets his skin. He smiles faintly, a small, quiet greeting to the morning itself. And above it all, the sky stretches wider, brighter, alive with the promise of another ordinary day. A day that will look like countless others, ploughing, tending, mending, resting, but still, somehow, sacred in its simplicity, because here, in this medieval village, life is not a race against time. It is a conversation with it, slow, patient, and endlessly repeating. The same paths will be walked, the same bells will ring, the same stars will return each night, and through all of it, this quiet world will keep breathing, softly, steadily, eternally. The sun climbs higher. Its warmth touches the stone walls, the rooftops, the sleeping stream. Children begin to laugh somewhere near the edge of the lane, that bright, clear laughter that breaks through even the thickest quiet. And for a moment, everything feels whole. The long night is gone now, but its peace remains, woven into every sound, every shadow, every heartbeat of the village. Soon, the fields will fill with voices, with songs, with footsteps. But even then, beneath it all, the calm of that long, silent night will linger. Because silence, once it's truly known, never leaves. It simply hides behind the sound of life, waiting for dusk, for the stars, for the soft hush that returns each evening. And when the sun sets again and the lamps begin to glow, the story will begin anew. The same roofs, the same fields, the same gentle rhythm that carries history forward, one night at a time. Evening returns. It always does, quietly, naturally, as if it never truly left. The sun lowers behind the hills, and the long shadows stretch across the fields once more. The air cools, the colors fade from gold to grey, and a faint mist begins to gather along the riverbank. The village exhales. The tools are set down, the doors close one by one, and the sound of work gives way to the softer rhythm of rest. The smell of bread drifts through the narrow lanes. Fresh, warm, baked in clay ovens that glow like small suns. Smoke rises from chimneys, curling lazily into the cooling air. Children's laughter fades into whispers, then into silence. A bell rings, slow, heavy, deliberate. It marks the hour when the day ends and the night begins. For a moment, the sound hangs in the sky like a prayer, then fades into the stillness that follows. The villagers gather around their hearths. The light flickers softly on faces worn but peaceful. Hands pass bowls, bread is broken, and soft voices fill the air, talk of weather, of crops, of small hopes and quiet worries. They speak not to fill the silence, but to share it. Outside, the world grows dim, the fields turn to shadow, the trees to silhouettes. Far beyond the cottages, the forest hums faintly with life, a rustle of wings, the soft crack of a branch, the distant cry of something unseen. And yet, it feels safe, as though the night itself is a blanket drawn gently over the world. In one small house near the edge of the village, a young boy sits by the window, watching the last light fade. He traces shapes in the frost on the glass, imagining castles and dragons, heroes and kings. His mother calls softly from the next room, and he turns away from the window, reluctant but smiling. He knows the world outside is simple, but in his dreams it is endless. The candle beside him flickers, then steadies. Its flame is the only light now, dancing gently in the quiet air. Soon, the prayers will be whispered, the doors bolted, and the village will sink again into sleep. The moon climbs slowly above the hills, round, calm, unhurried. It spills its light over the rooftops, across the river, through the trees. It paints everything silver, the fences, the tools, even the footprints in the dirt. The same footprints that will be gone by morning. And in that moment, it feels as though time itself pauses. Nothing moves, nothing speaks. The world simply is. An owl calls once, then again. The sound echoes across the valley, soft and haunting, and fades into the distance. Inside the cottages, sleep settles like dust, slowly, quietly, completely. The rhythm of breathing fills the air, steady, peaceful, ancient. The same rhythm that has carried humanity through countless nights, just like this one. The fires dim again, leaving behind a faint red glow. The wind outside stirs, then stills. The stars take their places above, each one a story, each one a memory older than the village itself. And once again, the world becomes perfectly still. A medieval night, endless, gentle, and full of dreams. Midnight, the hour when even the moon seems to breathe slower, when time loses its edge and the world drifts somewhere between dream and memory. The village sleeps, not restlessly, not in fear, but in perfect stillness. Every window dark, every fire low, every sound softened by the weight of night. The air outside is cold and clear. Frost spreads over the wooden fences, turning each one pale beneath the moonlight. The river glimmers faintly, its surface frozen in places, its current whispering beneath the ice. Each sound feels sacred now. The distant crack of a branch, the quiet sigh of the wind against thatch, the slow heartbeat of a world at peace. If you were to walk through the village at this hour, you would not wish to speak. You'd feel it, the deep, wordless calm that settles only once every night, when everything that moves must rest, and everything that rests must dream. The cottages stand like old guardians, their shapes softened by moonlight. Shadows gather around their corners, yet they do not threaten. They simply belong. The scent of smoke and wool still lingers in the air, a faint trace of life hidden beneath sleep. Inside one of those cottages, a baby stirs. The faintest cry escapes, no louder than a breath, and a mother rises slowly from her bed. Her feet find the cold floor, her hands find the child. She hums softly, a tune older than her name. The child settles, the sound fades, and silence returns, gentler than before. Outside, the wind changes. It carries with it the smell of pine, the hush of snow falling somewhere in the distance. The sound is almost imperceptible, a faint hiss, a soft drift against rooftops and soil. Flake by flake, the world grows lighter again. Snow settles on every surface, on wood, on stone, on the sleeping fields. Each flake catches the light, and for a brief moment, the whole village glows. The church bell, cold and heavy, rings once in the dark, a hollow note that stretches far across the valley. It does not wake anyone. It simply reminds the night that time still moves. The animals in the barns shift slightly, hooves against straw, a faint snort of warmth in the cold. Then stillness again, always stillness. And yet, beneath that stillness, life continues, quiet, invisible, eternal. The slow turning of the earth beneath the stars, the silent growth of frost across the fields, the pulse of water beneath the ice, the steady, ancient rhythm of a world that has never needed to hurry. Far beyond the village in the woods, a stream flows through darkness. It catches the light of the moon in fragments, small, trembling reflections that move like living silver. An owl glides low across it, its wings cutting through the air without sound. It lands on a branch, and for a while, it simply watches. Somewhere in the forest, a fox passes between the trees. Its paws make no noise in the snow. It pauses near the edge of the clearing, sniffs the air, and looks toward the faint lights of the village. Then it moves on, as silent as the wind. The night deepens again. The moon climbs higher, turning every shadow sharp, every breath visible. And the village, the same village that has stood for centuries, rests beneath that silver light, unchanged, untroubled, unaware of time passing. For in this hour, nothing matters beyond the quiet. No king, no crown, no distant war. Only the soft hum of existence, ancient, patient, endless. And so the night continues, breathing, shifting, alive in its stillness, until the first faint light touches the horizon once more. The first light of dawn hides still, but it's coming. You can feel it in the air, that subtle change when the darkness begins to soften, and the cold feels somehow gentler. The snow lies deep around the cottages now. It smooths every rough edge, fills every gap, makes the world look new again. The rooftops glisten, the fences gleam, and the path through the village winds like a pale ribbon between shapes half hidden by white. The moon lingers low in the west, its glow fading into a sky that's beginning to blush with silver blue. The stars, one by one, fade into the growing light. Not gone, just resting. Inside, the firelight flickers faintly, the last warmth of the long night. Ash settles over the coals, glowing from beneath, like the memory of a sun that never truly left. A rooster calls, soft at first, then again, louder this time. The sound drifts through the village, curling around corners, bouncing off frozen walls. It doesn't wake everyone, but it marks the turning of time, the world's quiet way of saying, soon. The old wooden door of a barn creaks open. A farmer steps out, pulling his cloak close, his breath a faint cloud in the pale air. He looks up, squinting against the dim light, and for a moment he just stands there, listening. The sound of the river has changed. It's softer now, muted by the snow, but still alive beneath it. The branches of the trees bend slightly under their heavy coats of frost. A bird lands, then flies off again, leaving a single mark on untouched snow. The farmer walks toward the well. His boots crunch with every step, that crisp, steady rhythm that always seems louder in the cold. He reaches the rope, and as he pulls, the pulley squeals faintly, its sound sharp in the still morning air. When the bucket rises, it brings up clear, dark water, so cold it steams. He takes a breath, then pours a little out for the animals. The water hits the trough with a sound that feels like life returning. Elsewhere, in the cottage near the edge of the woods, a window opens. A woman leans out, eyes half closed against the pale sky. She breathes in, slowly, deeply. The air tastes clean, as if the whole world has been washed overnight. She smiles. It's a small thing, but in this quiet world, small things are everything. The light continues to grow. It stretches across the fields, over fences, over rooftops. It slips into cracks between shutters, through the smoke from chimneys, and over the thin frost on the path. The village begins to stir again, hooves against stone, doors creaking, a cough here, a whisper there, the sound of life rebuilding itself, not rushed, but certain. And as the sky turns pale gold, the snow glows with it, 1,000 tiny mirrors reflecting the promise of another day. Soon the bells will ring again. The fields will fill with movement, the river will thaw, the fires will rise. But for now, in this fragile moment between night and morning, the world holds perfectly still, as if waiting for you to notice, as if asking you to remember how beautiful silence can be. The night story is ending, but only for now. Because in this village, every dusk brings the same calm, every dawn the same rebirth. The cycle never breaks, it only breathes. And as the first light touches the rooftops, the night finally lets go, its last shadow fading, its last whisper carried away by the wind. What remains is peace, soft, endless and alive. The sun has risen fully now, its light spills over the village, soft and golden, warming the edges of every roof, every wall, every stone in the path. The snow still clings to the shadows, but it sparkles where the light touches it. 1,000 tiny fires dancing across the land. Smoke rises steadily from chimneys, twisting upward into the clean morning air. The smell of bread, of hay, of firewood and wool fills the lanes again. The silence of the night has given way to the gentle rhythm of life. The blacksmith's forge is the first to wake. The man inside lifts his hammer, slow, measured, each strike echoing softly across the village. The sound doesn't disturb the peace. It belongs to it. Metal against metal, steady as a heartbeat, part of the song of the day. Near the well, women gather with pails and baskets. Their breath still clouds in the cold, but their voices carry warmth. They speak in low tones, half laughter, half whisper, about bread that didn't rise, about a child's fever that broke, about the weather and the wool. The same things every day, and yet somehow it never grows old. A dog trots through the lane, tail swaying lazily. He stops near the baker's door, sniffs the air, and waits. The baker chuckles, tears off a piece of crust, and tosses it to him. The dog catches it easily, then wanders off again, a small king on his morning patrol. In the fields beyond the village, the snow has begun to melt. The earth shows through in patches, dark, rich, alive. Men move slowly across it, shoulders bent beneath sacks of seed, their boots sinking deep with every step. They speak little, but their silence feels full, as though the land itself is listening. From a distance, the village looks timeless. A cluster of roofs, a thread of smoke, a line of footprints vanishing into the fields. The sound of bells drifts faintly in the air, calling not for worship now, but for work, for motion, for the quiet persistence of another day. Inside the cottages, the rhythm continues. An old woman mends a sleeve by the fire, her needle moving through cloth with steady grace. A child hums to himself as he sorts beans into a bowl, his tune soft and tuneless, yet perfectly right. A man sharpens his knife, the slow scrape of metal blending with the crackle of wood. Each sound, each motion, adds to the quiet music that fills the world when no one rushes. Outside, the sun climbs higher and the snow turns to water. It runs in narrow streams along the paths, slipping between stones, disappearing beneath doorsteps. The air smells faintly of thawing earth, of green waiting just beneath the surface. Somewhere on the hillside, a bell rings again, not a warning, not a call, just the sound of time moving gently forward, and the people of the village move with it, each breath, each step, part of the same endless rhythm. The same lives, the same land, the same peace repeating endlessly, like the turning of the seasons, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. The day unfolds slowly, without rush, without noise. The world glows, alive and still, just as it has for hundreds of years. And above it all, the sun burns quietly, as if keeping watch, patient, constant, and kind. Midday. The light has softened now, not the sharp gold of morning, but a gentler, warmer hue that rests easily on everything it touches. The air carries the faint hum of work, the swing of axes, the creak of cartwheels, the rhythm of scythes through hay. It's not loud, not hurried, just steady, as though the land itself moves with them. The snow from dawn has melted into clear pools that mirror the sky. Clouds drift lazily above, casting shadows that glide across the fields. The wind has stilled. Only the faint buzz of distant life remains. Near the edge of the village, a group of farmers rest beside a fence. They eat bread and cheese in silence, their eyes half closed against the light. No one speaks. There's no need to. Their work and their silence say everything that words could not. The horses stand nearby, steam rising from their flanks. One flicks its tail, another stamps its hoof, and then all is quiet again. Even the animals seem to understand that the middle of the day is meant for stillness. In the square, the baker sets his last loaves on a wooden board. The smell carries through the air, soft and sweet, mingling with smoke from the forges. Children chase each other past his door, barefoot despite the chill. Their laughter breaks the calm, but only for a moment, then fades, like ripples in a pond. Inside the cottages, life slows. A woman sits by the window, her hands folded in her lap. The light pours through the glass, catching dust in the air, turning it to gold. Her cat sleeps at her feet, its fur rising and falling with each breath. From outside, a single bell tolls the hour. The sound drifts through the still air, echoing off wood and stone, and then disappears into distance. It marks no great event, no ceremony, just time itself, passing softly, as it always does. Farther up the hill, the shepherd watches over his flock. The sheep graze slowly, their wool bright in the sunlight. He leans on his staff, eyes half on the sky, half on the earth. He hums a low tune, a song without words, older than memory. It blends with the wind, with the distant call of a bird, and for a moment it sounds like the land is singing back. The light grows warmer still. The roofs of the cottages glow faintly. The river gleams, and even the trees seem to shimmer. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell rings again, the sound soft, like a heartbeat wrapped in air. And then, as if the whole world exhales, the village falls quiet once more. Only the sound of wind through grass remains, gentle, unbroken. It is a peace that has lasted for centuries, the peace of rhythm, of repetition, of living each day as though time itself were a kind companion. The sun begins its slow descent. Its warmth lingers on the stones, on the water, on the skin of those who work beneath it. But soon, the shadows will lengthen again, and the world will tilt softly back toward night. Afternoon. The day has grown quiet again, not from weariness, but from fulfillment. The work is nearly done, and the land hums softly with contentment. The sun has begun to lower, its light stretching long and golden across the fields. Shadows spill from every fence post, every tree, every stone wall. The world looks softer now, as if wrapped in warmth before the cold returns. The fields shimmer with the remains of melted snow, tiny mirrors catching the last of the sun. The farmers gather their tools, stacking them neatly at the edge of the path. Their hands are rough, their backs bent, but their eyes are calm. They have done this work 1,000 times before, and they will do it 1,000 more. The rhythm is its own comfort. One of them looks toward the horizon. The sky has begun to change, pale blue giving way to faint rose, rose to amber. The air smells faintly of smoke and soil. It is the smell of evening, the smell of rest. A cart rattles down the lane, its wheels carving shallow lines through damp earth. A boy sits on the back, legs dangling, watching the sky as it deepens in color. He waves at a woman standing by her door. She waves back, then turns to light her lamp. One by one, the lamps appear, tiny sparks blooming in the dimming light. They flicker in the windows, in doorways, along the narrow lanes. Each one a heartbeat, a sign that life continues quietly, beautifully, just as it always has. The animals return to their shelters. The lowing of cattle drifts through the valley, answered by the distant call of geese crossing the sky. Their wings glow gold in the last sunlight, and for a moment it feels as if even the sky itself is slowing down to rest. At the edge of the river, a man kneels to wash his hands. The water is cold, clear, alive. He splashes his face, then looks up, the reflection of the sky trembling on the surface before him. He smiles faintly, then turns back toward home. The village bell rings once, a long, slow tone that rolls through the still air. It echoes against the hills, through the fields, over the rooftops. It's not a command, not even a call, just a reminder that day is leaving, and night will soon take its place. Children chase one another down the path, their laughter fading into the distance. A woman calls them inside. A door closes softly. The sound of footsteps fades. The sun touches the horizon now. Its light spreads in thin ribbons across the snow, turning it to fire. The air glows for one last moment, that fragile golden pause before the day exhales. Then, slowly, the light begins to sink. The color drains from the sky. Amber to rose, rose to violet, violet to deep, endless blue. Smoke curls lazily from the chimneys, mingling with the scent of stew and bread. The voices inside the homes grow softer. their rhythm slowing. Laughter becomes murmurs, murmurs become silence, and as the first stars appear, the village returns once more to its favorite state, the gentle quiet that belongs only to the night. The sky darkens fully now. The moon lifts itself above the hills again, patient and eternal, casting its silver light across the rooftops. It touches the frozen river, the bare branches, the footprints in the snow. Everything it touches, it calms. The second night begins, not as a repetition, but as a continuation. The story never truly ends here. It only flows, like water beneath ice, like breath in sleep, like time itself. And beneath the moonlight, the village rests once again, soft, still, and perfectly alive. Night has fully returned. The stars hang low and bright above the fields, scattered like grains of salt across an endless black cloth. The moon, pale and calm, casts its silver light on rooftops, on the frozen paths, on the slow, winding river below the hill. The village sleeps. A faint smoke still rises from a few chimneys, the last breath of the day, leaving the hearths behind. Inside the cottages, the world is small and safe. A single candle flickers on a table. Its flame bends and straightens, fighting the quiet draughts that slip beneath the door. In one house, a child stirs beneath a wool blanket. The fire has dimmed, but the air is still warm enough to keep away the frost. Outside, the sound of an owl drifts through the trees, slow, patient, the rhythm of a creature that knows this darkness well. The road through the village is empty now. Only the snow remembers the day, the soft imprint of boots, the marks of wheels, already fading under the steady fall of new flakes. It's as though the land is erasing its own story, preparing for another to be written when morning comes again. By the river, the water moves beneath a thin sheet of ice. It whispers to itself, a sound like breath, like sleep. Reeds sway faintly in the wind, and the moonlight glides over them, silver against black. High above, the clouds have vanished. The stars burn clearer now, each one a shard of cold light, older than every stone in the village below. If anyone were awake to look, they would see constellations the same way their ancestors once did, centuries before. The same stories written in the same sky. Nothing here changes quickly. A wolf's howl rises from the far hills, long, distant, answered by another from even farther away. The sound echoes through the valley, but the villagers do not stir. They've heard it before. It is part of the night, like the wind, like the river, like the stars. In the chapel, the candles have burned down to wax pools. The air inside smells faintly of wood and smoke. A soft draught passes through the small window, making the flame tremble one last time before it fades. Darkness fills the room, gentle and absolute. The world outside holds still, so still that time itself seems to hesitate. There is no sound now, only the quiet pulse of life, steady and unseen, moving beneath everything. The moon drifts higher. Its light slides over the frozen roofs, the bare trees, the distant field walls half buried in snow. It touches the old well in the center of the village, a ring of stone worn smooth by generations of hands. Frost glitters along its edge like tiny jewels. Somewhere inside a cottage, a log shifts in the hearth, sending up a faint orange glow. It dances for a moment against the silver of the moonlight, two kinds of light meeting in the still air, one fading, one eternal. Hours pass this way. The night deepens, the cold grows softer. Even the stars seem to breathe more slowly now, and though no one is awake to see it, the first faint hint of dawn is already waiting beyond the horizon, a pale promise whispering to the dark. The village sleeps on. The fire embers fade to dust. The moon begins its long descent, and for a few last moments, before light and sound return, the world rests perfectly still, as if holding its breath, at peace with everything that was and everything that will be. The night begins to loosen its hold. The stars fade, one by one, slipping quietly back into the pale blue that replaces the dark. The air is still cold, but not as sharp now, as if the world is beginning to breathe again. Far to the east, a faint light breaks the horizon. It isn't gold yet, just a thin wash of grey-blue that deepens with every minute. The moon, tired from its long watch, sinks behind the trees, leaving the fields in soft shadow. The silence remains, but it's a different kind of silence. Not the stillness of sleep, but the quiet before awakening. A bird stirs first. Its call is faint, uncertain, like a question whispered into the cold. Then another answers, and another. Soon, the trees are trembling with sound, not loud, but alive. The snow catches the first hint of color, a pale pink spreading across its surface, as if the world is blushing at being seen again. Frost on the windows begins to melt, trickling down in tiny, perfect lines. The air smells faintly of smoke, of pine, of something clean and new. Inside the cottages, the fires are lit once more. The sound of crackling wood returns, soft, familiar. Someone stirs beneath a blanket, rubs their eyes, and listens to the quiet hum of morning. Outside, the light grows stronger. The rooftops glow faintly. The river glimmers again, and a new day begins its slow, gentle climb. In the stable, horses stamp and snort, their breath clouds rising in the pale air. The farmer comes with a pail, his steps steady, his movements slow. He doesn't rush. No one does here. The day will come at its own pace. The church bell rings once. Its sound drifts through the valley, thin but clear. It doesn't announce, it simply reminds, the same way it has for generations. A new day, another rhythm, another circle completed. The children's voices return, soft at first, then brighter. Their laughter carries through the lanes like the return of spring. A woman opens her window, letting the cold air in. She smiles at the light, then begins her morning work. The baker kneads his dough, hands moving as they always have. Slow, sure, steady. The smell of bread will soon drift again through every corner of the village. The blacksmith stirs the coals in his forge, their glow waking under his touch. Outside, the shepherd is already walking, his staff tapping gently on the frozen ground. The sky turns gold. The sun crests the hill, spilling light across the rooftops, the trees, the still river. The snow gleams as if lit from within. The shadows shrink away, and for a moment, a brief, weightless moment, the whole world seems to pause in quiet awe of its own renewal. It is morning again, the same as yesterday, the same as centuries before, and yet completely new. The villagers move about their work. They do not think of time or of history. They think only of the rhythm, the endless turning of light into dark, dark into light. A child looks toward the sun and squints, smiling. A man lifts his hat, wipes his brow, and turns to the fields. The wind stirs, and the world begins again. The story continues, as it always does, softly, steadily, without hurry. And as the morning light spreads over every roof, every face, every path, the village breathes as one, a quiet, ancient breath shared by all who have ever lived here and all who ever will. The world has woken, the cold is passing, And once again, life begins. Days begin to fold into one another, morning to evening, light to dark, warmth to cold, each blending softly into the next. There is no rush, no breaking point, just a slow, circular rhythm of living. The villagers rise with the sun and rest with the moon. Each day feels familiar, but none are the same. The sky paints itself differently, some days bright and endless, some soft and grey, others heavy with clouds that promise snow. They have learned to read these signs: a shift in the wind, a low ring in the air, a certain hue in the morning frost. Each tells them something. They do not need clocks or calendars or the counting of hours. Time lives in the world itself. Spring returns quietly, almost shy after the long cold. The first blades of green push through the frost, small, trembling things that somehow survive. The river runs faster now, breaking its icy shell and spilling across its banks with laughter. Birds build new nests under the eaves of cottages, and children chase each other through thawing fields, their shoes heavy with mud. The villagers smile more, they speak more. Laughter fills the square again. The air smells of wet earth and pine, and the smoke from chimneys thins to wisps. By midsummer, the days are long and golden. The sun seems unwilling to leave, and even when it does, the twilight lingers, soft blue melting into amber until the stars appear. Lanterns hang from trees, and the village glows as though the night itself has become warm. The fields are alive now, grain rising tall, the hum of insects in the air, a steady heartbeat of growth. Work is long, but not bitter. There's joy in it, a quiet pride in what the earth gives back. At the river, the shepherds bring their flocks to drink. Their reflections waver in the water, golden and dreamlike in the afternoon sun. Somewhere, music drifts, a flute, faint but clear, played by someone resting on a hill. When autumn arrives, it doesn't announce itself. It creeps gently, coloring the leaves from green to gold, then to copper, then to brown. The air grows sharp, the nights stretch longer, the harvest begins. Men and women work side by side, filling baskets with grain and fruit. Laughter and song echo through the fields. They work until the light fades, then return home beneath skies painted in fire and rose. Inside, the tables are full again. Bread, cider, roasted apples, simple things but rich with effort and memory. The sound of cups meeting wood, the murmur of voices, the faint creak of the old floorboards. All of it blends into a music that belongs only to this time, this place. And then winter comes again, not suddenly but surely. The air stiffens, the rivers slow, and the fields fall silent. Snow drapes itself over every roof, every wall, every sleeping branch. The world becomes quiet again, the same quiet it knew before, and will know again. Inside the cottages, fires burn through the dark. Stories are told by their light, of saints, of lost travelers, of miracles and ghosts. Voices soften as the night deepens, and sleep returns like an old friend. This is the rhythm, the endless breathing of the world. It never rushes. It never truly ends. The people grow older, the seasons turn, the snow melts, the rivers rise, and still the same sun returns, lighting the same hills, warming the same hands. Time in the village does not pass. It turns like a wheel, softly, endlessly, carrying everything with it. And as it turns, generation after generation, the rhythm remains. The same songs, the same work, the same peace. Life here is not made of moments, it is made of cycles, the small, quiet repetitions that give the heart its calm, a world that asks for nothing and gives everything in return. Centuries begin to turn, as softly as the seasons once did. Time widens, stretching far beyond the lives of those who once walked these quiet paths. The cottages weather, their stones darkening, their roofs mended again and again. Children grow into farmers, farmers into elders, elders into stories, and still the rhythm continues. The names change, but the sounds of the village remain. The lowing of cattle, the ring of the blacksmith's hammer, the echo of church bells over the valley, all of it becomes a kind of music woven through time. Empires rise beyond the hills, kings are crowned and fall, wars flare and fade like passing storms. But here, in this small corner of the world, the fields are still ploughed, the bread still baked, the river still flowing. News of the outside world reaches slowly, a rumour carried by a traveller, a new coin in a merchant's hand. But even as the centuries shift, the heart of the place stays the same. One winter, a traveller pauses on the edge of the road. He listens to the silence between the bells, to the faint murmur of wind through the trees. And though he has seen great cities and grand cathedrals, he feels that here, in this quiet valley, time itself has chosen to rest. The snow falls again, as it always has. The river freezes, the hills turn white, and once more the village folds into its long, gentle sleep. A child, generations later, looks out from the same window his ancestors once did. He sees the same dawn light touching the same stones. He hears the same church bell calling across the morning air. He does not know it, but he stands inside a living memory, a rhythm older than words. The seasons keep circling. The tools in the barns rust, then are reforged. The wooden wheels rot, then are replaced. The people come and go, but their hands leave the same marks, on the doors, on the earth, on the rhythm of the days. Even as centuries drift onward, the silence never disappears. It lingers beneath everything, beneath the wind, beneath the voices, beneath the noise of a changing world. It is the same silence that wrapped the first winter in snow, that cooled the first fire in the hearth, that watched over the first family who slept here. When night falls now, there are lamps instead of candles. The sound of metal wheels hums faintly from far roads. But beyond all of that, past the reach of the new and the loud, the same stillness breathes. If you stand there, in the fields where the old village once stood, you can still feel it. The wind moves gently over the grass. The earth smells faintly of smoke and pine. And if you close your eyes, you can almost hear them. The footsteps of those who once lived by rhythm, the distant toll of the bell, the quiet song of a world that never truly vanished. Because silence, once born, never dies. It hides in the spaces between sound, in the breath before dawn, in the pause between seasons. It carries history not as words, but as feeling. The world keeps moving, faster, louder, brighter, but beneath it all, the same ancient calm endures. The rhythm remains, the turning continues, and somewhere, in the heart of time, the village still sleeps, wrapped in snow, bathed in moonlight, waiting for morning once again. The centuries turn again. The quiet hills that once held a handful of cottages now hold towns, roads, and lights that glow through the night. The sky, once dark and infinite, is touched now by the faint haze of the modern world, but the stars are still there, waiting patiently behind it. The river still moves. The same water that once froze under the shepherd's watch now flows beneath bridges of stone and steel. The same wind that brushed the old thatched roofs still moves through the trees, though few stop to listen anymore. The echoes remain. They hide in the smallest places, in the creak of a wooden step, in the smell of rain on soil, in the flicker of a candle that somehow feels older than the room it burns in. People hurry now. The rhythm that once guided life has been replaced by clocks and screens and distant voices. But every so often, something slows them. A snowfall, soft and sudden. A power that cuts out the noise, leaving only silence. You can almost hear it. That slow pulse beneath everything. A heartbeat older than memory. It moves through stone and soil, through the bones of old cottages, through every quiet place left in the world. A soft wind drifts through the valley. It carries with it the scent of wood and frost, and something faintly sweet, the ghost of smoke from fires long gone out. The moonlight finds the old paths again, the same ones once walked by hands and hearts long turned to dust. They leave no footprints now, but the earth remembers. Somewhere, a bell still stands, its rope frayed, its metal cold. It hasn't been rung in generations, and yet, in the stillness, it almost seems to hum, not in sound, but in presence. A quiet echo of the rhythm that once guided the world. Time moves differently here. It doesn't rush forward. It spreads, like ripples on calm water, each moment touching the next, gently, endlessly. If you listen long enough, the centuries begin to blur. The peasants, the fields, the snow, the stars. They all fold together, becoming one single breath of history, one long, unbroken exhale. The world is resting, and in that rest there is no fear, no struggle, only the steady peace of things that know how to endure. You can almost see it, a faint image, half dream, half memory. A cottage window glowing with warm light, a figure sitting beside a fading fire, eyes closed, breathing slowly. Outside, the snow falls in soft, endless sheets, covering every sound, every footprint, every worry. The silence deepens. It stretches beyond the valley, beyond the mountains, beyond time itself. It fills the space between heartbeats, between thoughts, between stars. This is what remains when all else has gone, the quiet heartbeat of existence. The same peace that watched over the medieval village still watches now. The same calm that carried them through endless winters still wraps around the world tonight. And so, you can let go too. Let the centuries fade. Let the noise drift away. Let the world slow down until it feels still again. Because it always returns to this moment, this quiet, this perfect, endless rest. The wind softens, the night deepens, the world sleeps, and in its sleep it dreams of snow and fire, of work and rest, of beginnings and endings that are never really apart. The rhythm continues, soft, steady, eternal, and somewhere, beneath the same stars that once watched the old world breathe, you are part of it too, breathing with it, resting with it, becoming one with its silence. Nothing is lost, nothing ever was, only the world, as it has always been, quiet, enduring, and beautifully alive. And now, the village sleeps. The last ember fades into ash, and the wind moves gently through the empty lanes, carrying with it the faint scent of wood smoke and winter rain. The fields are quiet again, the barns, the fences, the little bridge by the frozen stream, all still, all wrapped in the same silver light that has fallen over this land for 1,000 years. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it, a sound softer than any voice, older than any story, the sound of the earth breathing, Somewhere out there the world is still turning, slow and steady, under the same stars that shone on every life that ever was. The stars themselves seem to sigh, a long, quiet breath that reaches across centuries. Every life, every moment, every flicker of warmth in the dark, all of it woven into the same endless night. And maybe that's what peace really is. Not silence, but continuity. The gentle knowing that the world goes on, softly, always, and forever. The medieval village, the people, the light, they may have passed into history, but their rhythm remains. In every wind that moves through the fields, in every candle that flickers in the dark, in every quiet heart that listens for the past. So now, as you lie still, let the centuries fold around you, the smell of wood smoke, the hush of snow, the warmth of a distant hearth. You are safe, you are home. The night is deep and kind and endless. The stars are watching, the world is sleeping, and you can rest too. Let everything fade, the sound, the thought, the weight of the day. Let it all drift away like smoke rising into the winter sky, because here, in this quiet place, time no longer matters. Only the calm remains, only the soft heartbeat of the world itself. Breathe in, breathe out, let go. The night is long, the world is gentle, and everything for now is at peace. The wind drifts one last time through the valley, threading softly between the trees, across the frozen fields, past the sleeping cottages. It carries no sound now, only calm, only the memory of warmth and firelight lingering in the air. The moon hangs low above the hills, its pale glow brushing against the rooftops. Every shape is gentle now, rounded by darkness, softened by snow. Even the old church steeple, once sharp against the sky, seems to bow into the quiet. Nothing stirs, no footsteps, no breath but the winds. And in that stillness, you can almost feel the weight of all the nights before, centuries of peace, layer upon layer of quiet lives folded into the earth. The air feels endless. You could stay here forever, watching the stars, listening to the soft pulse of the world beneath you. Time becomes a dream. And maybe that's all history ever was. A long dream the earth keeps having. A story it tells itself so it never feels alone. The dream changes, but the feeling never does. That slow rhythm, that calm between breaths, the way every sound fades until it becomes part of the air. That's where you are now. Not in the past, not in the present, just somewhere between. The same place where the villagers once rested, where the snow once fell, where the world, for a moment, felt perfectly still. So close your eyes. Feel the last warmth of the hearth fade, the last echo of the bell dissolve into the dark. The world is sleeping again, and you are part of it. The night stretches wide. The stars drift slowly, soft as dust. Somewhere, far away, a new dawn is waiting, but not yet, not now. Now there is only this, the quiet, the calm, the gentle breath of the earth as it dreams on. And as it dreams, you sleep, you drift, you disappear into the same timeless rhythm that has carried every night before this one. Everything is still, everything is peaceful, and the story goes on quietly, forever. The sky begins to fade, though not with dawn, just a softer kind of darkness, as if the night itself is exhaling. Clouds move like whispers across the stars, their edges melting into shadow. A faint mist curls above the roofs, rising from the last bits of warmth hidden in stone and wood. Inside the cottages, nothing moves. The fires have gone to sleep, their glow sinking into faint orange embers. The smell of smoke lingers in the air, mixed with earth and hay and the faint sweetness of drying herbs that hang from the beams. The silence isn't empty. It feels full, like it's holding the memory of every sound that ever lived here. A door creaking, footsteps in snow, a child's laughter echoing down the lane. All of it still lives in the quiet. The moonlight slides across the frost, turning the ground silver. Every blade of grass, every edge of wood, every stone on the path shines like it's been touched by something holy. And maybe it has, because there's something sacred about a world that knows how to rest, about nights that take their time, unrushed, unafraid of silence. Out in the fields, the scarecrow stands still, arms open to the stars, frozen in its endless watch. Its tattered cloak moves only slightly, as if breathing with the wind. Beyond it, a line of trees marks the edge of the world. You can almost hear the rustle of the forest, bare branches brushing together, telling stories older than the village itself. And somewhere among them, an owl cries once, low and soft like a sigh through the ages. Then silence again, deep, endless. The night keeps its promise. It stays gentle. It holds everything just as it is. You feel it too, that weightless stillness settling into your chest, your heartbeat slowing to match the rhythm of the world. The stars keep watching. The air stays kind. The earth hums quietly, content in its slumber. There's nothing left to do, no story to finish, no thought to chase, just the peace of an ancient night that has never really ended. It only waits, patient and eternal, for the next soul to close their eyes and listen. And so, the village sleeps on. The wind softens, the world breathes, and everything for this one long, quiet moment is completely, beautifully still. Somewhere, far beyond the fields, a faint silver begins to rise, the first edge of dawn hidden beneath the horizon. But here, in the valley, the night still clings to every surface, every roof, every sleeping soul. The village rests like a single breath, suspended between darkness and light. Even time seems unsure whether to move forward or to stay in this perfect stillness just a little longer. The river murmurs quietly under its veil of ice, its slow current whispering secrets to the stones below. If you listen, you can almost understand them, not in words, but in feeling. The language of water, of patience, of things that have always known how to wait. A lone candle still burns in one of the cottages. Its flame trembles, casting slow shadows on the wall, like ghosts of old dreams moving in rhythm with the wind. The person inside sleeps deeply, wrapped in wool and silence. Their breath fogs the air, then disappears, a rhythm as old as the world itself. Outside, a thin frost has crept over the door latch, delicate as lace. The wood glows pale under the moonlight, the handle cold, untouched since the evening. Everywhere you look, the world is resting in its purest form. No motion, no sound, just the faint hum of existence stretching out into forever. The stars begin to dim, not fading, but softening, as if bowing to what's coming. The air feels lighter, thinner, like the sky itself is taking a quiet breath. In the fields, a single crow lifts its head. It doesn't fly, not yet. It only watches, its black eyes catching the reflection of the pale horizon. This is the moment between worlds, the thin thread of time where night and day share the same space. It feels endless but fragile, like the last note of a song you don't want to end. The village remains still. The smoke from last night's fire hangs low over the roofs, a ghost of warmth, refusing to leave just yet. Then slowly, The first color touches the edge of the sky, a faint blue, then a soft gold, sliding gently over the clouds. The night sighs and lets go. The stars withdraw, one by one, like candles being blown out in a cathedral. And with them, the silence begins to lift, not vanish, but transform. It becomes the calm of morning, the promise of another day. The same fields that once slept beneath frost will soon awaken under light. The same hands that once rested by the fire will rise to work again, and history will continue, quietly, endlessly, like breath. The world turns, the light returns, and still, somewhere deep within that quiet, the night lingers, waiting for evening, for the stars, for the next dream to begin, because no night ever truly ends. It only changes shape, and the peace it brings, that ancient eternal calm, stays with you long after you open your eyes. So when the day finally comes and the world begins to move again, remember this silence. Remember the stillness. Remember the night that never really left. The wind fades, the village glows, the story rests, and so once more the world begins. The light spreads slowly, touching the rooftops first, a pale gold that seeps through frost, warming the edges of the thatch, glimmering in the ice that clings to every window pane. The snow begins to sparkle. The shadows retreat toward the forest line, and a faint haze rises where the ground meets the dawn. It's as though the earth itself is waking up, stretching after a long, quiet dream. Inside the cottages, the first sounds begin. A small crack, wood shifting in the hearth as the new fire catches. Then a cough, a soft voice, a door creaking open to the morning air. The village stirs, slowly, like an old creature learning again how to breathe. A rooster calls from somewhere behind the barns. A bucket clatters against a frozen post. Footsteps crunch through snow. Each sound feels heavy, as though breaking the deep spell of night. The sky is brighter now, a pale washed blue with streaks of silver cloud curling toward the east. And there, beyond the fields, the sun begins to rise. Not fierce, not golden, just soft and steady, like the glow of an old candle being lit again. It touches everything. The frost on the fence rails, the smoke drifting from chimneys, the river thawing at its edges, the worn stone of the church tower standing tall over all of it, unchanged, eternal. From its shadow, a few figures begin to move, wrapped in wool and fur, faces hidden beneath hoods. They walk slowly, their breath forming small clouds in the cold. One carries a pail, another an armful of wood, and a third simply stops to watch the sunrise. For a long moment, nothing else happens. Only the light continues to grow, painting the world in calm. The night has gone, but it hasn't truly left. You can still feel it, woven into the air, resting beneath the surface of sound and motion. Its peace lingers, a soft reminder that even in movement there can be stillness. A child opens a window shutter. A woman hums by the fire. A man steps outside, hands rough, eyes steady. The day begins not with noise but with quiet purpose. Smoke drifts upward. The fields wait, and the village breathes again, alive, unhurried, whole. Soon the work will begin. The carts will roll. The bells will ring. But for now, the morning belongs to no one, just the light, the frost, and the memory of night. If you close your eyes, you can still feel it. The echo of that deep, ancient calm settled somewhere in the chest, beneath thought, beneath time. It will stay there, quietly, as the day unfolds, because peace, once found, never really leaves. It only changes form, becoming warmth, or light, or the soft rhythm of a world still learning to rest. And somewhere, in the hush between one heartbeat and the next, the village still sleeps, in memory, in story, in the endless, beautiful calm of history itself. The morning drifts forward, quiet and pale, the air still cool enough to hold the faintest shimmer of frost. The smoke from a dozen chimneys rises straight into the sky, thin and silver, curling like soft ribbons that fade into the light. Crows circle high above the trees, their wings glinting against the pale gold. Their cries echo across the open fields, but even those sounds feel gentle now, part of the calm, not breaking it. Down in the lane, a cart creaks into motion. Its wheels roll slowly over the frozen earth, each turn groaning like an old song. The horse exhales clouds of steam, the breath catching sunlight like a halo. Beside the path, a woman pauses, her hands still dusted with flour. She looks toward the hills, toward the rising sun, and smiles without meaning to. Just a quiet, fleeting thing, a reflex older than words. This is how it always begins. Every day for hundreds of years. Light, work, rest, silence. The rhythm never really changed. You can almost see it stretch through time. The same path, the same smoke, the same soft voices rising from the cottages, layered one over another like the pages of an endless book. And though everything that once lived here has long since faded, the feeling remains. The stillness, the patience, the strange beauty of a world that never rushed. Far beyond the fields, a small river winds through the trees. Its surface catches the sun now, each ripple flashing like metal. If you watch closely, you can see leaves drifting past, slowly turning, as if time itself were moving through them. A dog barks once, sharp against the silence, and then stops. The sound fades into the cold air, carried off toward the forest. Somewhere in that same forest, snow still lingers in shadows untouched by dawn. It will melt soon, not all at once, but slowly, as though even the winter itself knows there's no need to hurry. The bells of the church finally stir, their sound deep and low, rolling through the valley like a heartbeat. It's the same tone that's been heard here for centuries. Warm, familiar, comforting. The village answers with motion. Doors open. Footsteps quicken. Voices rise in greeting, quiet but warm. The stillness softens, turns to life. And yet, beneath it all, the calm remains. It's in the air, in the soil, in every heartbeat that carries the memory of nights spent beneath endless stars. History isn't gone. It just sleeps inside the world, waiting to be remembered in mornings like this, in the hush before the noise, in the light that feels older than the day itself. So, as the sun climbs higher and the village moves once more, you can still hold that quiet inside you, the same peace that once covered the fields when the world was small and the nights were long and every sunrise felt like a promise kept. The promise is still here. The rhythm still hums beneath everything. And the story never ends. It only breathes again and again, just like the morning. By evening, the light turns golden again. It spills softly across the fields, catching on the river, the rooftops, the quiet curve of the hills. The day exhales, slow, content, like the world itself is tired but peaceful. Children's voices echo faintly through the air, then fade as doors close one by one. Smoke begins to rise once more, thicker now, carrying the scent of supper fires and pine. In the distance, a bell rings, not for work this time, for rest. The carts are empty, the tools are hung. The fields lie still, waiting for the next sun. and the villagers, wrapped in wool and dusk, walk home beneath a sky already dimming to blue. The same paths they took that morning now glow faintly in the fading light. The same hands that worked in frost now open doors to warmth. Everything circles back. Inside, the cottages breathe again, fire crackling, bread breaking, low laughter humming through the walls. It's not loud, it's never loud, just life in its simplest, softest form. Outside, the wind rises, gentle and cool. The stars begin to show one by one, like distant candles returning to their posts. The village settles. A dog curls beside a doorway. A shutter creaks closed. The sky darkens, and the night, that same patient night, returns to claim its place. And here it is again, the hush, the calm, the same eternal rhythm that carried the world through 1,000 years of evenings. Nothing has changed, not really. The fires, the fields, the faces, they all belong to the same story, the same heartbeat of earth and time. The moon climbs slowly over the hills, its light brushing against every roof, every tree, every sleeping window. And once more, the village disappears into silence. The wind drifts, the stars breathe, the world once again slows down. And in that stillness, you can rest too, because night has come, and history sleeps, and the story, your story, their story, the world's story, goes on, quietly, beautifully, forever.